From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, America is back! America is back! The communist Chinese are censoring their people. President Trump should confront Tim Cook. And President Trump needs to tell Apple to stop censoring. President Trump needs to tell Apple to stop censoring. Infowars.com stands against leftist tyranny. You know, it's communist China suppressing their people, and the man stood in front of the tanks to stop communist China's censorship, and he paid with his life. Now pro-communist, pro-China individuals are blocking us, acting like they're the people standing in front of the tank. America is back. America is back. Apple is leading the censorship of Americans. Apple needs to stop censoring America. Trump, we love Trump. We love Trump. We love Trump. We love free speech. You all support the deep state. America is back. America is back.
Sorry knew that was going to happen, so now we're ready to go. With old trusty.
Against censorship. You support Chinese censorship.
I don't support
You support America is back. America is back. America is back. America is back.
Hey, let's see this guy. Can you talk? You able to talk?
Good. You, dude.
Come on over. You support free speech?
Dude, you're up good. Yeah.
That's right. Good.
Apple is censoring Americans. Apple is censoring the American people. Apple is censoring the American people. And the time, and this guy has a great vocabulary. He says F you over and over and over again because he doesn't support free speech. They don't touch me again. Apple is a national. Our basic freedoms are being erased. And President Trump must stand up for the First Amendment. Apple is evil. Censorship is evil. Apple is evil. Censorship is evil. Apple is evil. Censorship is evil. Tim Cook works for Communist China.
Hey, lady, watch out. Don't touch me.
Infowars.com. Infowars.com. America is back. 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 Trying to push me out of the road. You want to hurt me? Leftists are pushing me out of the road.
Gentlemen, you're a little white supremacist. How you like that nonsense?
Gentlemen,
Gentlemen.
Free speech is here. Free speech is alive. Come back to America. And Trump needs to stop the persecution of Julian Assange. And Trump needs to pardon Roger Stone. We need to defend free speech.
You, dude. Everything you stand for.
I'm not smart at all. I need to turn gay.
Wake up, America! Wake up, America! Wake up to the child molesting law!
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday, November 21st, 2019. I'm Alex Jones. I am a busy, busy beaver. You know, it's been a long time since I did not sleep 1 minute last night. I was working on so many things that I did not sleep 1 minute. I tried to lie down at about 3 a.m. and just couldn't do it. And I hadn't had any coffee since about 6 p.m. But drug-free, I could not sleep because the energy level on the planet is rising so incredibly. I mean, it's unbelievable. I can't even handle it. I don't know about you. And evil can feel it as well, and they are freaking out. Wait till we lay out what happened at the Democrat debate last night. There's never been such a gibbering, mentally ill train wreck. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday, November 21st, 2019. I'm your host, Alex Jones, and I can tell you that I am in the zone today. Whatever reason, the zeitgeist was so intense. Last night, I could not sleep. For the first time ever, not because I was forcing myself not to sleep, but because I couldn't sleep, and I was not tired, and I'm not tired now. That was without the aid of coffee. And some people can do that. I mean, I can go to bed at 9 at night and sleep till 7 a.m. the next day without ever waking up. And I'm a very sound sleeper. But when all this geopolitical stuff's going on and the globalists are in so much trouble and so much is happening and so much is going on, you can just feel it. And I know you can all feel it as well. It's amazing. You can see it. You can absolutely see it. You know, there is a movement in the world that the globalists push that wants to always say it's Masons, it's Catholics, it's Jews, it's Chinese people, it's Russians, it's white supremacists, you know, Nazis that secretly are dominating and ruling the world. And really, it's just evil groups of people of every race, color, and creed that work on the same wavelength and want the same global government post-human world. And a great little window into that I just noticed today is Benjamin Netanyahu, it's been ruled in Israel, is going to stand trial for bribery. And is going to stand trial supposedly for hosting dinners over the years at his house that the government paid for. Yeah, they're big sticklers over there, not allowed to pay for dinners with government chefs on charges of bribery. Now, the Rothschilds supposedly founded modern Israel, but they have a larger goal in mind for that. Use it as a clash point. They admittedly want Netanyahu out. So see, how is Israel one monolithic power? I mean, Netanyahu definitely has done things I don't like, backing ISIS, just like Obama did in Syria. A bunch of terrible things. I'm not a Netanyahuite. I'm just a real politique guy who goes, wow, the big global power structure from the Rothschilds, who are super powerful and at the top of the pyramid, and man, they don't like Benjamin Netanyahu, and they like George Soros that works for him, who says Israel, in leaked emails, shouldn't exist. So people ask me the last few years why I've gone from being neutral on Israel's existence to going, hey, secret emails, George Soros came out 3 years ago, wants to get rid of Israel. Hey, that's not going to happen with the nuclear weapons Israel's got and all the rest of it. It's just, there's wheels within wheels. There's other things going on here. It's like Catholics aren't evil. Some of the best people I know. The Pope is a world government pedophile protecting monster. He's not the Pope. You could say that the Vatican runs everything, or the Vatican's puts pedophiles in charge. No, the pedophiles took the Vatican over, and they're taking everything else over, by the way. And you want to get down to the bottom line is, Jesus said the spirit of Satan wants to hurt innocents, it wants to hurt children. And Jesus Christ, who they've turned into this wimp in the modern parlance, said, it's better for you to tie a giant boulder around your neck, a millstone, and throw yourself in the ocean than to hurt a child. So suffer the children. That means you need to suffer to take care of them. That means you need to defend them. You need to die for them. That's not a heroic thing to do. What you're supposed to do. What mammal species won't fight to the death to defend its young? A species doesn't do that, doesn't exist. It's wired into you. But look at the Democratic Party operating system. It's all about Satanism. It's all about killing babies. It's all about being nasty and evil and every perversion you can imagine. Oh, let's get back to the Jews are one monolithic evil, which is not true. But they'll probably have the ADL, that is a corrupt, bad group, come out and say that I just said the Jews are monolithic evil. That's how bankrupt and evil they are. But not because they're Jews, but because they're globalist and literally spew the spirit of Satan out upon the planet, just like the Southern Poverty Law Center. New York Times, Stephen Miller is a white nationalist. Does it matter? Now, Stephen Miller is Jewish. He's pro-Israel. His parents are leftist who were anti-Israel, basically, from what I've read and heard and seen him say. And he just thought it was crazy growing up in that circus. And he loves America and common sense and believes we're allowed to have a border and believes it's not right to say white people are inherently evil. You know, Martin Luther King agreed with that. And then this big article that came out 2 days ago, I just learned of it last night, it's just all over the news. They're saying Stephen Miller must resign because he's a great patriot advising the president on common sense, and he's loyal to America first. And the ADL is saying he is a Nazi. You read the quotes, and what's the proof? Well, when he was helping take over Breitbart, before he became the main advisor to Bannon on the real nomenclature, it turns out they got 10,000 emails, it says, surreptitiously. And guess who he blueprinted the Trump resistance off of? Alex Jones and Infowars. See, because my show is just a big tent for everybody that just wants freedom in the future. And you could be black, you could be white, you could be Christian, you could be Jewish, you could be a Muslim. If you really want freedom and justice into the future and a permanent future, then I want to work with you. And that's a real big tent, but based on real freedom and things that work. And again, I point out what the globalists were saying 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and I thought maybe they're exaggerating. But no, it's really true in all the internal documents. It comes out in WikiLeaks and everywhere that Infowars is the blueprint of relaunching Renaissance Americana. The guests, the listeners, myself, everything we do, we built it, they came, and that's why they want it off the air. But that goes back to, again, this issue of the fetishizing that Jews are evil, which Google and Apple and all the subsidiaries push everywhere. They don't take those people down. I don't think they should. They don't take the people down saying that Jews secretly have little forked tails under their clothing, because that will just add to the insanity and the division. But when I get up here and point out that there's massively diverse groups of people within what you call the Jewish faith, the different types of Jews genetically and all this, the ignorant just say, oh, there, he works for the Jews. Boy, if I'm working for the leftist Jews, man, somebody really ought to give me the notice of it, because it's the leftist groups, and chief amongst them, the ADL and Southern Poverty Law Center, and others that are financing my destruction. And that are calling me a white supremacist. I didn't help Hitler kill a bunch of people and round up Jews like George Soros. And again, it's damn true. I come from a fine family of good, hardworking people that have always stood up for what's right and done the right thing. And I almost don't exist because of Hitler. Both my grandfathers almost died in the Army Air Corps. Almost died. And then I get to sit here and watch a Nazi collaborator fund the media saying that I'm a Nazi. That group of criminals, that group of thugs, that group of psychopaths that were financed by the proto-globalists and that created the EU and all the rest of it. Unbelievable. No, Stephen Miller's not a Nazi, neither is Michelle Malkin or Alex Jones. We just love America, and we don't care what color you are. We care what your heart and your mind's all about, just like Martin Luther King said. Yeah, I agree with Martin Luther King. That's why the ADL says I'm a Nazi. We know that we are being systematically mutated, poisoned, deformed, stunted, and finally killed. There's evil in the universe, and when good doesn't admit evil exists, and when good doesn't face it and conquer it, our only weapons totally fine. We fall to it. And it will get more insane, it will get more crazy, it will get more obvious. And we will see those that serve it actually imploding and falling apart right in front of us. But still, they will tell us that we must partake of this great evil and that it will fulfill us. Next segment, I'll get into it. I really haven't been covering these Democrat debates much. We've had some live coverage of it, and I played a few clips, but I didn't watch it last night. But then I watched a bunch of the clips this morning, and it's been a train wreck. It's been a clown show. It's been a circus. This was really just frightening. They were having mental breakdowns. People were shaking like they were having seizures. Biden's teeth were falling out. They were fighting with each other. This is the best the enemy's got. But see, the enemy's got a lot of these people. They're called followers. And they're scared, and they wind themselves up to believe there's something they're not, and they're empty. That's why you look at them and you're like, they're paper thin. They're mirages. Why doesn't other people see this? Because other people at a very young age are set in front of televisions, and they're put into a trance state, and the average person stays at a near sleep state, daydream state. They're highly suggestible. This is all scientific fact, by the way. It's taught in mainline colleges in PR and media. And the average person is a highly suggestible state. All the studies show, since the advent, if we call it that, of television, since the creation of this thing, the IQ is going down, the brain waves are going down, and the language is being reduced. And people are more suggestible. And so they just have things pre-programmed floating around. There's an intellect there, but it's electronically and semantically induced form of basically autism, where the brain is shuttered and can only operate in narrow bands. Then it learns how to be laser focused within those bands, but it's very limited. The perceptions like this, blinders, looking down. And you see it where programmed leftists and others are like someone you pull a string on and they repeat the same thing back at you. And so you see all these impeachment hearings, the rest of it doesn't make sense. It's garbage and hearsay and lies, repeated over and over again and then debated over and over again. But it's sucking all the air out of the room. And so these are very, very corrupt technicians that are doing this. I mean, you've seen the big ad that came out this week in South Dakota saying meth, we're on it, and then shows individuals saying meth, I'm on it. It's not a Monty Python joke. It's not a pun. They put that out to freak you out, for it not to make sense. They want you on meth. It's been declassified. That the criminal network brings in the drugs, prepares it, teaches people how to do it, have TV shows promote it like Breaking Bad. They humanize it, and they make that your economy. And then what do you do when you're on meth? One of the favorite things that people like Ed Buck and reportedly Adam Schiff likes it. U.S. girl 10 was drugged, raped, and dismembered. But the suspect, who was admittedly there, is allowed to go free because he's an illegal alien. Kind of like the guy that shot the young woman in the back in San Francisco said, well, he's allowed to. He's Hispanic. Let him go. He killed her for fun. No big deal. They would rape her. And it's come on the police reports. They saw it as a ritual. Of course, and then finally, she fought back at age 10. They've been doing it a while. So they tortured her to death and chopped her head off. Maybe I'll tell you her name coming up, stories on Infowars.com. But, you know, I've played clips of reported victims of Satanism and things. And people are like, oh, that's too extreme. That'll never can be true. That's just the stories that haven't been 1,000% confirmed. And so those are the ones that go big. Because the ones that are all confirmed, people just go, oh, let's not read that. You think I want to read how dozens of men a day tortured this little girl and her mother enjoyed torturing her and reportedly felt power of the essence of the child? A mother torturing her little girl And then finally, as she begged for help, mommy helped chop her head off. And then they had sex with her dead body. That's what Satanists do. And you see, you don't even need to go to a satanic coven and get recruited into it. Oh, I'm a Wiccan white witch, ha ha ha. Then, you know, it's all just inducting you into the mouth of the beast. Again, like an anglerfish has a little light out front. Oh, I'm a Wiccan white witch. Oh, come forward. You don't have to be part of all that stuff. It's just a spirit everywhere now. Of let's hurt children. Let's torture them for a long time until they give up or until they fight back. Because, hey, this little girl's hitting us. She's fighting. She's trying to get out. She's calling on Jesus. They say, kill her now. Satan. You know, the people that let the reported people involved go in Albuquerque, the meth capital. Breaking Bad's so cool. They're not the bad guys. It's Stephen Miller. Yeah. Yeah. He's a Jewish Nazi. Did you hear the New York Times said so? Because he believes in America. He's the bad man. And so's Alex Jones. So's Infowars.com. Yeah, right. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. And Jesus saves. Yes, humanity's gotten soft, but the veneer of civilization is beginning to peel away. Let me mention some of the headlines we've got here. Then I do want to start getting into the ridiculous debate last night on the surface, but just the collapsing, choking, poisoned nature of these ring wraiths, of these Nazgul, of these living, dead zombies, shuddering and shaking and coughing and hacking and hating and spitting and sputtering and saying verboten words that the left's not supposed to say. You know, just a train wreck. The wages of sin are death. And it wasn't just Biden. It was the younger women. It was all of them, like some poison gas was in the auditorium. Because evil's really trying to push the envelope and manifest itself to make everybody give up and to try to drive their slaves into resistance against us. And really, it's just going to start making their slaves malfunction. And that's a nice little side effect about these type of conflicts. We're going to get stronger, we're going to get more focused, we're going to get more powerful, not because we seek power, but because that's what God is. And the enemy is going to be laid waste to. The artificiality of the satanic technocracy is going to force this thing, but the forcing of it is its destruction. The New World Order is going to give birth to world government and the Antichrist. And it's going to reign for a very short time. And it is going to be spectacularly bloody. Well, like a big giant thunderstorm that rolls through and all of a sudden it's blue sky and you see it fading off and you're just like, what is the most beautiful day I've ever seen? That's already coming. And you can see it, you can feel it. Those of us that are already awake and really engaged, we're already in that beautiful, sunny meadow with the trees and the birds and the sky and God's spirit there. And we stared down into those, caught in the eddy pools and struggling, and we hope they can reach us. We hope they can join us. But alas, we can't look at them too long. Can't look back at Sodom and Gomorrah. You can't look back into the abyss unless you become the abyss. You can even marvel at them and say, look at how enslaved you are. Look at how the Democrats I saw yesterday when I went out and bullhorned Apple and Tim Cook and hopefully getting Trump to do something about censorship, which he's promised to do. So I was there to deliver a message as well to Trump. And I guess I was protesting his inaction. And I went over and looked at that crowd, And they all look like the devil's rejects. They all look like they were from a science fiction movie like The Dark Crystal, and they were little gelflings that had their souls sucked out. And replaced was the dark light of Lucifer, just like a siren going, I'm going to kill you, I hate you, yes, I want to hurt babies, yeah. It's like Gremlins or something. And you're like, wow. And then you see the whole hierarchy of the energy these people have. Like there's zombie gremlins, and then there's kind of like the little pedo wannabes, little pedo supporters, and then it just kind of goes up to like the corporate media that's kind of lost and wanting to be famous but not really knowing what's going on, and enamored by real media but also scared of it. And then the police, on average, kind of aware of what's going on and seeing the glistening, happy, vibrant crowds of waving American flags, black, white, old, young, but light in their eyes, and then looking across the street and seeing just this gray haze of demons just literally misting around, and you're just like, it's biblical. And they would chant at me, we're going to get your children. It's on video. People have seen the other, they go, oh, we'll get your children. And then they go, we've got Alex Jones's children. We've got hours of this. I've told the crew to isolate some of that out. We've got children, and we've got his, which is not true. I didn't lose my children 3 years ago, as the media told you, but I have full custody of my children. It doesn't matter. They're like, we've got him. We've got his children. Ah, you don't have your children. And you're literally seeing the manifestation of a group that would try to rig stuff and have 50-something media, sometimes at one time, trying to manipulate a jury. And you just see the full corruption in the span of these people in what they're saying to you. And we're not over-demonizing them. You have to understand that it is the radicalization of these people has gotten more intense, because once they sign on to hate of Trump and America, whether Trump's a good guy or a bad guy, once that figurehead's up there and they're told, act out, go crazy, be nuts, then it just becomes anything attached to Trump. And if Trump is some satanic weapon system, which I don't think he is, I think he's more like the Joker card. It could go both ways. I don't think I know. Trump's more like a crossroads. Trump's like a manifestation of the group collective consciousness. And you can see that. The guys streaming it, like oracles do. But if we don't rise to the challenge and defeat the globalists in this round, Trump is actually just manifesting and energizing the globalists and their minions to absolutely build themselves into a completely spiritually mutated horde that, if not discredited and defeated, even though it's pathetic on the surface, will start taking over the system and will start enslaving people that do not come from the same cauldron as the little ring race and minions. And that's when they kick off these wars. And then it makes people choose a side, and the globalists can manipulate that within that paradigm and get good men working on the side of evil, and then you got to really watch out. And so that's what this complex enemy subduction is. And if Trump doesn't act against the censorship and doesn't act against the tyranny, then all he's done is rise up this giant army, and then Trump leaves office, however, and they're there. And then we've got this discredited figurehead who didn't do anything wrong, really, but didn't fulfill his destiny. And now we've got a big problem on our hands. So that's what I really wanted to get at there. Now, I am procrastinating here, and I have a bunch of big guests and a huge 5G special coming up, and so much to cover. We got a bunch of special guests. But I read this yesterday, and then I went and researched it, and We owe it to her. We owe it to her. To read what they did to her. And I got 3 daughters, and I'm going to read this on air, and I'm going to have full feeling. I'm going to take it all on, and I'm going to imagine what happened to her. And then I'm going to think about Jesus, who took on all the sins before and that were and that would be, and think about being Christ-like and taking on the pain of this little girl. The chief manifestation of the death-charged broadcast at the wavelength received by our electrochemical DNA is a kill transmission to program our instincts against ourselves to destroy civilization and our longevity and kill our future potential. Kill, steal, and destroy. Now, when they have movies on television, on Netflix about Breaking Bad, that's promoting methamphetamine. That's been declassified, that they put drugs in the movies and put out how to make it and popularize it. That's shadow government criminal groups. The major drug cartels are controlled by the globalists as well, and now they're moving into meth. So that's why you see meth were on it ads, which are hidden in plain view to openly program everyone. It's basically tagging your slave. And South Dakota wants to compete with New Mexico as the meth capital. That's like Joe Biden saying, violence against women, we have to keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. You go, why would he say something, obviously, that's a sick pun? That's the whole point of these people. They're all coming out in the open. You think these demons can't help but just say insulting, mean, horrible, insensitive things? That's what they do. And then they know that you're sensitive, so they tell you what you can say and what you can think all day, and then they say that they're the arbiters of what you can say. It's all inversion of reality. So let's read this story. It's up on Infowars.com. It's in the local Albuquerque newspapers. Sputnik, the evil Russians, picked it up. U.S. girl, 10, was drugged, raped, and dismembered, but now suspect allowed to go free. Mother of girl who used dating website to find men willing to sexually abuse daughter. While she watched, in August of 2016, Victoria Martins was drugged with methamphetamine, raped, murdered, and then dismembered by a group of drug addicts, including her mother. The shocking case is slowly proceeding through the U.S. courts, but a judge has released a key suspect. Oh, legal analysts and law enforcement experts react with shock on social media when the judge allowed Fabian Gonzalez, 34, to walk free on Wednesday, 20th November. Gonzalez was one of the drug addicts who was there the night of the 23rd of August when Victoria Martins, who turned 10 the day before, was injected with meth, raped, strangled, and then dismembered in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And they went on to say, well, we're a sanctuary city, so we let him go. Just like, remember, there's a lot of these cases, but the poor woman, I forget her name. What was her name out in San Francisco? The illegal alien shot her in the back. And then they just let him go. They just said, well, he's an illegal alien, and we got a virtue signal, and we're you forget these poor humans' names. But there's so many of these cases, and it's not even about the illegal alien. It's about criminals all over the world that are allowed to come here, have fake names, do whatever they want, and then jump back and forth across the border. You know, and criminals used to run from the U.S. down to Mexico. Mexico had a right to arrest them and ship them back, right? And they did. But see now, oh, no. Yeah, that was Kate Steinel, is that how you pronounce it? The tragic accident, that's right. I guess it was an accident, too. Justice for Victoria. And it goes on to the stuff they did to her for years. The case that shocked residents of Albuquerque, a city which became synonymous with methamphetamine after it was used as a location for TV show Breaking Bad. Gonzalez's girlfriend was Victoria's mother, Michelle Martins, who had pled guilty to child abuse resulting in the death of her daughter, but told police her boyfriend, cousin, Jessica Kelly, had killed the girl. Police say Martins liked watching Victoria being raped by Gonzalez, and Kelly did nothing to stop the attack, even thought after her daughter begged. And then it just goes into, if you read the whole stories on it and the rest of it, they've got the DNA samples, they proved it all. But, you know, you get to go free. You get to go free. You get to go free. Because you're a fellow traveler. You're in the club. You know, we've got the lawyer for the fake whistleblower, Eric Saramella, the mole, just everywhere saying, I like to represent pedophiles and get them national security clearances. And I like to go to theme parks alone and take photos of myself with small children. And I like Jeffrey Epstein. And I like little girls. There's not a damn thing you're going to do about it. Think about that. Just rubbing our noses in it, isn't he? Well, I better not say something to him. He's powerful. Oh, these are scary people. We don't do anything there. And notice they've taken over the Catholic Church, and it's just unified. No one can be stopped now. They've taken over the Boy Scouts. It's done. They've taken over major states, governments, militaries, everything. Because when you first learn the pedophile devil worshippers are in your midst, well, no one's going to believe it. Well, now they're threatening me. If I just stay quiet, they'll leave me alone. And then they want more. And then they got you. And then you don't have God's protection anymore because you signed on with them. The truth is, you always have the power to turn against Satan unless you've hardened your heart to the Holy Spirit. So if you feel you're an evil person that's done bad, we're all evil to some extent, and you feel bad about it, you feel the Holy Spirit convicting you, have that come into you and cleanse you of that. I mean, people say, why do you tell the stories about how when you were a teenager, you were promiscuous and you paid for abortions? When I'd know about them, a few times I paid, got convicted of the Holy Spirit, and did never do it again. And I'm not proud of it. I feel terrible about it. And I feel like I have a sense of payment I need to put forward for killing my own children, having a hand in the. I mean, I would walk about Mount Everest. I would jump into a fiery cauldron to save my children now. The most precious things in the universe is my heart aches. I love them so much. And there I was, young and dumb, and the media telling me it wasn't a baby. And the girl's parents are like, "What? You want baby strollers? You're 15. She's 15. You're gonna have a baby?" First time my dad heard about it, he's like, yeah, let's have that baby. We didn't have those babies, though. We chopped them up. We sucked them out with vacuum cleaners. Yeah, I've killed children. Not proud of it. I feel really bad about it. I'm not even proud of the ex-convict tried to kill me, so I beat his brains out. I'm proud of any of that death. But I'm here to tell you, somebody that murdered his own children, not knowingly, but still, I'm a murderer of children. I've killed children. Ooh, big, bad, tough guy. No, I'm a piece of crap. But you know what? I know what I did was wrong. And I can work hard so that other people recognize the gift of life and how precious it is and don't do that same thing. And that's really why we're all here and why these experiences happen. And those little souls of my children, I hope one day to meet. See the Satanists, they revel in the destruction of innocence. And then we cowardly sit here and won't even confront them, won't even get in their face, won't even speak against them. Because we're scared. Scared of what? You better be scared of God. And you better get close to God real fast, or for eternity you're going to be cut off from God. You really want to be with these people that willfully want to be cut off from God forever? We're going to go to the next hour. We got guests. I need to get to all of it. If you don't spread the word about the show, we won't be here. And if you don't buy the products, we won't be here. And these are products you really need. DNA Force is the best, highest quality PQQ and CoQ10 with a bunch of other great ingredients that are known to regrow nerves, to make telomeres last longer. That's fountain youth stuff. And regrow damaged, make damaged heart tissue working again. That's major studies on CoQ10. This is the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. 98% reviews, DNA Force Plus, free shipping, double Patriot points. It's going to have to end soon because we're going to sell out of it a lot quicker than I thought because this price is really good. Very expensive to get the PQQ and the CoQ10, and most people mark it up 5 to 7 times. We mark it up about 150%, and we always discount. Everybody expects that. So right now it's marked up, I don't know, like 40% or something. So InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139 to call and get your order in and get your fish oil and get your Turbo Force and get your Brain Force and get your X2 and your X3 and get the Vitamin Mineral Fusion, just all the great products, and the Super Silver whitening toothpaste that also remineralizes the teeth with above-sea coral calcium and so much more. And we've got some reviews coming in, 100% reviews on the toothpaste. It doesn't compete with Super Blue that has iodine as well. This is a different type of toothpaste. But I mean, quite frankly, it's new, it's more advanced, it's about as good as you can get. But different strokes, different folks. The Super Blue is excellent as well. We have it for children as well. And this doesn't have the iodine. It has the amazing silver. All right, hour number 2, straight ahead. All right, I'm going to come back and get into the debate. Then we're going to do a big 5G special with some experts and witnesses and engineers and technicians and so much more. But first, let's go to some of what happened yesterday out at the Apple factory, where I did protest Trump and I did protest, of course, Tim Cook. Here it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, America is back. America is back. The communist Chinese are censoring their people. President Trump should confront Tim Cook. And President Trump needs to tell Apple to stop censoring. President Trump needs to tell Apple to stop censoring. Infowars.com stands against leftist tyranny. You know, it's communist China suppressing their people, and the man stood in front of the tank to stop communist China's censorship, and he paid with his life. Now pro-communist, pro-China individuals are blocking us, acting like they're the people standing in front of the tank. America is back. America is back. Apple is leading the censorship of Americans. Apple needs to stop censoring America. Trump, we love Trump. We love Trump. We love Trump. We love free speech. You all support the deep state. America is back. America is back.
Sorry that was going to happen, so now we're ready to go. With old trusty.
Against censorship. You support Chinese censorship. You support America is back. America is back. America is back. America is back.
Hey, let's see this guy. Can you talk? You able to talk?
Yeah, dude.
Come on over. You support free speech?
Dude, you're a bitch. Yeah.
Right, you're good.
Apple is censoring Americans. Apple is censoring the American people. Apple is censoring the American people. And this guy has a great vocabulary. He says F you over and over and over again because he doesn't support free speech. They don't touch me again. Apple is a national. Our basic freedoms are being erased. And President Trump must stand up for the First Amendment. Apple is evil. Censorship is evil. Apple is evil. Censorship
Now,
is
this
evil.
was in hundreds of big newspapers. Oh, Alex Jones was out bullhorning Trump and Tim Cook, but no one knew what he was saying or what America is back means. Different articles, San Francisco Chronicle, Houston Chronicle, Washington Post, just everywhere. I mean, I probably scanned over 30 or so of them last night, just real quick. Spent about probably 40 minutes looking at them, and it was all written exactly the same. So the talking point goes out. But really what I was saying is the really heavy stuff. Communist China is suppressing its dissidents and working with Apple to do it, and Google, and there's Chinese espionage going on here, and a lot of these big tech companies are actually run by Chi-Com intelligence. That's even mainstream news. The government's come out and warned that today. And we really need President Trump to come out and stand up for free speech in this country and stop election meddling by big tech and the Chi-Coms. And that's what we laid out there, and we're attacked and spit on and everything else. There were a lot of patriots there, more than there were anti-Trumpers, but we wanted to go over and show them. But they also would come over to us and get all around us. And there was even, I haven't gotten to this yet because they need to go find the footage. I didn't tell them what to do yesterday. There's so much footage. But we've got the footage of a guy coming over with a police dog and menacing us with it. and then get in our security guys' faces. And one guy got arrested. So it's just crazy. The left are a bunch of bullies. And I know I'm not telling you something you don't know, but they're getting worse. And it's just exponential. So what's coming next? Prager University just put out a clip from Tucker Carlson playing clips of Obama, Hillary, and others saying we need a wall. We need to arrest criminals that come over here illegally. We need to arrest felons that are committing crimes and deport them. We need to arrest American citizens that are criminals doing bad stuff. I mean, and prosecute them. And then Facebook came out and said that was fake news and put a strike on PragerU and said that they'd fact-checked it and it was false, but even the fake PolitiFact said it was true. It's what they linked to said it was true. Again, it's not just Alex Jones's name being banned now. It's Trump on Facebook trying to put an ad that said, we're looking for strong women to join the Republican Party team. We're looking for women to join our leadership council. We want women in leadership roles. Well, they don't want women being recruited by Trump who are abled and well-spoken and powerful, because the globalists own women. And they own your children, too, they think. And they own the language. The ADL, fresh off telling you that they'll call you a white supremacist if you use the international symbol of OK, said in the bro fist, which been an MOG for a decade. You know, when a bro bumps fist, hey, fist pump. A lot of folks fist pumps how to shake hands. Fist pump. I fist pump a lot. Well, the ADL's so powerful, they just say, oh, we say that's a white supremacist symbol. And it's all about the fact that it's not true. It's all about the fact that, hey, we will tell you that up is down and down is up and left is right and hot is cold. And we'll tell you that Stephen Miller, who's Jewish, is a white supremacist. That's the New York Times headline, because they got his emails, thousands of them, where he plugs Infowars as the main site and says they've got it, they know what's going on, to Breitbart when they rebranded Breitbart and got Trump elected. And, I mean, you got to go read it for yourself. I mean, if you know what's going on, it's like comedy. So you realize how dangerous this is. And he said, focus on how illegal aliens are committing a disproportionate amount of crime and being let go by sanctuary cities. What's wrong that illegal aliens are above the law? I mean, I just read where they can chop little girls' heads off, reportedly, and then not get in trouble or take part in murder. Because Albuquerque and the courts go, well, you know, you're Hispanic, so it's all right. It's a white girl. So, you know, she deserved it. Read that last hour. U.S. girl, 10, was drugged, raped, and dismembered, but now suspect allowed to go free. Who the witnesses say was there and was part of it. Okay, all right. But listen, again, Stephen Miller, ladies and gentlemen, promoted a site that promoted Western civilization and said the Pilgrims were good. Oh, my gosh. The Pilgrims were good? The Pilgrims were good? Some of the most important, hardest working, smartest families in England left because they wanted to practice real Christianity and gave up everything they had. A lot of them had been deposed dynasties before the Normans and the sycophantic Transylvanians took over, and had come over here to build a new world. The new Atlantis is what they call it. And, you know, Stephen Miller thinks that's pretty cool. I mean, it is pretty cool, isn't it? Let's see. You're not allowed to like America. You're not allowed to say we ever did anything good. That's like when Trump said, we're a nation, we're nationalists. It's good to love America, remember? He said at rallies in the media, he's like, that's white supremacist to say America should exist. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. It's not meant to make sense. I had leftists toddle up to me at the Trump event at Apple yesterday. They would go, it was being like white, kind of UT type, wannabe elitist frat boys. They go, hey, frogs. And I'd be sitting there bullhorning, and they go, you're a white supremacist. And they go, it's like magic. Oh, hocus pocus, abracadabra. But for a lot of people, they think that is power. So, Stephen Miller is a white nationalist. Doesn't matter. What they're saying is white people are evil, and then a nation existing is white people. So you can't have the Bill of Rights or Constitution or property or success if you're not white, because that's evil. You need to be losers and hate white people and hate yourselves and hate America. Say a bunch of ruthless global banks that literally put the Chi-Coms in power that have killed 115 million people. And again, that makes Hitler blush. But that's okay, because at least they're not white. The Chi-Coms feeding off the poor Chinese people. Well, they're Asian, so they're I mean, you didn't hear they're good? They're not evil over there. That's not even a concept in China, good and evil, according to the left. It's just a very good system they have, where the state can do anything it wants and human life has no value. For people that go over there and experience it, say it's a living nightmare for almost everybody. But hey, I'm not supposed to get in the way of all everybody's happiness here in the New World Order. Okay, I promise I'll play the clips. Hell, let's just start going to them right now. Let's go to some of these debate clips last night, because this really was the wheels exploding, not just coming off, and just a manifestation of bizarreness. But there was a little ray of sunshine there. Tulsi Gabbard talks about Hillary Clinton, so let's go to that clip.
Our Democratic Party, unfortunately, is not the party that is of, by, and for the people. It is a party that has been and continues to be influenced by the foreign policy establishment in Washington, represented by Hillary Clinton and others' foreign policy, by the military-industrial complex and other greedy corporate interests.
Now, let's go ahead and go to Kamala Harris and Tulsi trade barbs over foreign policy. And then I'm going to get to the really good stuff. The shaking, the collapsing, the dentures falling out. I'm not against old people and dentures. I'm saying it's emblematic that Biden literally, he looked like the crypt keeper a few months ago. He looks like the crypt keeper has more meat on his bones. And it's emblematic of the system and just how disconnected they are. And they're like, here, try this. He's obviously had more strokes. He's got marbles in his mouth. And I told you all this a year ago, 6 months ago. I was extra banned on Facebook for it. Remember that? Oh, my God, he made up that Biden's slurring his words. Any idiot could listen to any of it and see that. Let's just go to break and come back with those clips. I don't have time to get to them now. And then we've got a big 5G special. Different folks that are exposing it. One gentleman that found the secret transmitters, which they admit are there, but the news still says he's bad. Oh, okay, the secret 5G in the lamppost, spying on you and frying you. That admittedly gives you cancer, but hey, you know what? The other stuff gave you cancer too. This just gives it to you quicker. So we're taking you out a little bit faster. Isn't that more humane? See, half full, not half empty. You didn't think about it that way, did you? We're doing you a favor. Kind of like the CDC took down off its website where they used to admit that over 100 million people were given cancer by the polio vaccine, it's estimated, with SV40 cancer virus. And then now Google's taking it off the way back machine. Because you're not even supposed to know that most of your grandmas and grandpas that died of cancer got it from the polio vaccine, because they're doing it even better now. So listen, let me teach you how to do it. It's the new American flag. You put your head between your legs and you kiss your ass goodbye. Or maybe you say, hey, I'm not going to go along with this. I'm going to take action. They're not going to kill me slowly. Now, there are too many of these to get to all of them, but they're all one train wreck after the next. And the media just praises all of them like it's so wonderful, but then Tulsi Gabbard says something eloquent and true, and they just hiss about it and freak out. So again, it's an inversion of reality. But here's Harris and Booker fact-check Biden's claim of only one black woman elected to Congress. I mean, he's stuck like in 1961. Here it is.
I have more people supporting me in the black community that have announced for me because they know me. They know who I am. 3 former chairs of the Black Caucus, the only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate, a whole range of people.
No,
my point is
that's not true. The other one is here.
I said the first. I said the first African-American elected. First African-American. So my point is.
And so they can, again, laugh at the zombie that's been put up there, the zombie that's part of their party. Let's ask this question, because MSNBC's asking it now, so I guess it's okay to ask it. Not back when we said it a year ago, not back when we said it 6 months ago. That was a big national scandal. This is for fake news. He says he's slurring his words. Jones, what will he do next? I mean, I had all these leftists walk to me yesterday, and they'd say, when I was out there at the Trump/Apple event, and they'd walk over, the few that didn't go, F you, I'm going to kill you, we took your kids away, all this made-up stuff. They'd go, do you really believe it? Are you making it up? Are you an actor? Because you do a show, they'd say something like that. I go, yeah, they call things shows, but I mean, I'm covering real things here. But they like want to shake up your confidence, like they're not believing in you. Like, do you really exist? You know, did that really ever happen? Here's an analogy. It'd be like if you caught somebody cheating with your wife, and then they go, oh no, he couldn't cheat with your wife, he's gay. And then the gay guy's been married twice and has 4 children. That's a true story. Somebody I know. No one's cheating with your wife. He's gay. Yeah. The gay guys I know back in college and high school got more poontang than a toilet seat. It's a load of crap in almost all cases. Anyways, continuing, ladies and gentlemen. This is the netherworld of their BS, and nothing is what it seems. So let's go back to more of these ridiculous clips. As I mentioned, is Joe Biden senile? Well, do bears live in the woods?
Are demanding investigations not only of you, but also of your son. How would you get those same Republicans to work with you?
Well, look, the next president of the United States is going to have to do 2 things. Defeat Donald Trump, that's number 1. And number 2, it's going to have to be able to go into states like Georgia and North Carolina and other places and get a Senate majority. That's what I'll do. You have to ask yourself up here, who is most likely to be able to win the nomination in the first place, to win the presidency in the first place? And secondly, who is most likely to increase the number of people who are Democrats in the House and in the Senate? And by the way, I learned something about these impeachment trials. I learned, number 1, that Donald Trump doesn't want me to be the nominee. That's pretty clear. He held up aid to make sure that, while at the same time, innocent people in the Donbass are getting killed by Russian soldiers. Secondly, I found out that Vladimir Putin doesn't want me to be president. So I've learned a lot about these things early on from these hearings that are being held. But the bottom line is, I think we have to ask ourselves the honest question. Who is most likely to do what needs to be done? Produce a Democratic majority in the United States Senate, maintain the House, and beat Trump.
Senator Harris, your thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, we have a...
Are the Clintons corrupt, ladies and gentlemen, is the question. Do bears go to the bathroom in the woods? You know, what's funny about this is that gas company, his son got millions of dollars for doing nothing, and then other shell corporations got billions for doing nothing. There was a bunch of indictments yesterday against the people connected to the Bidens directly that worked with them. And so their ship is going down very, very quickly. The Democrats don't care. They just think they'll just ignore all that and make it all about Trump. Did you hear what the president did? He talked about corruption when somebody brought it up to him and said it was terrible. Oh, my gosh. Think about how they're trying to paralyze the president. Now, let's go to this other clip here, because we've got so many of these. We've got the one where Senator Warren says abortion rights are human rights. That's an oxymoron. Why is Klobuchar, however the hell you say her name, violently shaking? Let's play clip 16 right now.
Is to look at each count and make a decision. But let me make very clear that what this impeachment proceeding about is really our democracy at stake.
She's having a stroke. She's having a seizure right there.
Not only with regard to his conduct
100%.
Ukraine, but every step of the way puts his own private interests, his own partisan interests, his own political interests in front of our country's interest. And this is wrong. This is a pattern with this man, and it goes to everything from how...
I forget all the technical names, but my uncle was in a motorcycle accident, so he has them. What is it, petit mal, grand mals? There's a bunch of them, but that's a petit seizure. That's what they're called. It's the little bumps in the road, little storms in the brain. And a lot of people have those problems. Nothing against that woman for that. She has terrible policies. But if you say Hillary was having seizures when she had them even clearer than that, light-induced ones particularly, oh my gosh, and a guy with an EpiPen walking beside her and her falling down having seizures, that's a full-on seizure right there. Get the wooden spoon, put it in the mouth. Don't let her bite her tongue off. That's what they got to do. And she's... And the Secret Service says, yeah, she had a full-on... Oh, it's a conspiracy theory. No, you may have video of it, but it's white supremacist. Don't show that. Don't look there. No, Joe Biden's fine. They're all fine. We're fine here. Everything's fine here. Fine. We're sending up a squad. No. Major reactor leak. Very dangerous. I gotta slip a cheesy Star Wars analogy in, because I don't like Star Wars. I like to make fun of Star Wars, but it does have. I do like the Emperor. He's very funny. Ian McDermott's a good actor, and some of the Darth Vader stuff's good, but most of it's super cheesy back then, and even more cheesy now. And I'm not against every movie being nothing but women in charge and women badass. It just gets a little old because I don't want to see men acting badass and running around in shows like the Fast and Furious, because it's not real. But what is real is a movie like Ford versus Ferrari. I've actually read up on that before I saw the film. Already knew about it before the film even came out. And boy, that's a really accurate movie. And it's much more horrifying and much more real when you realize that that's the modern gladiators and, what really went on. And just how you had to be perfect in those older cars to get up to those speeds and do what they did. It was all about human mind with these machines. Now the things are incredible. Oh, my God. My Lord, they have got sports cars now where the computer does it all. You can be going 250 miles an hour. It's amazing. Not that I've ever done that or anything, but we'll be right back. All right. A lot of folks that would do a big 5G special because the science is in would start with an engineer or a scientist, and we have that coming up. We have inventor and scientist Mark Steele coming on. We have Mike Adams popping in. But I wanted to get Ian Ferguson on because he's who you really want to listen to. And I personally, where they're now putting in 5G in Austin, have already been down there a few weeks ago. It's still on my phone. I need to give it to the crew. I just remembered I had this because I was told about it and saw it on Twitter, and I drove over there. So they got big signs with skulls on them. In fact, I forgot anybody can pull this up. The stuff's already online. And it says, don't go near this. This is deadly. Only technicians are allowed to be here. You are picking up radiation that gives you cancer. And you're 50 feet from just the towers that have the transmitters on them. And it says, coming in this area, you agree to know that you can get cancer. Just like when you sign up to work on a nuclear submarine or something. So I could sit here all day and show you a whole bunch of mainline studies and even the LA Times 5 years ago going, wow, studies show 5G gives you cancer even worse than 4G and 3G. Yeah, it's microwave radiation. How does a microwave boil milk or coffee or heat up a hot dog in 30 seconds where it's popping and sizzling? It rubs molecules together. And water and liquids rub very easily together because they're not locked in place, and it creates friction. It's like a Boy Scout, the dry piece of wood and putting it in there in the little bits of kindling and getting it going. And they knew 40 years ago when they came out with the cell phones that it was giving people brain cancer. Well, now they're just upping the power. And, Trump, big problem with Trump. Still love Trump, but, he said vaccines hurt Barron. He said he wanted to look at it. Now he doesn't do that. Because Bill Gates said he told him, there's never been a problem with a vaccine, Mr. President. That's a hoax, even though the insert says it can kill you. Well, now Trump says, during my visit yesterday to Austin, Texas, for the startup of the new Mac Pro and discussion of the new billion-dollar campus, also in Texas, I asked Tim Cook to see if he could get Apple involved in building 5G in the U.S. They have it all, money, technology, vision, and Cook. Cook, the guy that said we're going to take all the conservatives off the air and curate them. So again, yeah, glad it's not Hillary, but boy, Trump is becoming more and more like the establishment. Now, the left said he didn't actually build anything new, and he said Apple hasn't built anything new. The campus has been there since 2013. That's not true. They broke ground in 2013. There's a whole bunch of buildings, and they're tripling the size of it under Trump pressure, and they're hiring 15,000 more people in the next 2 years, okay? So Trump did get them to move from China with the suicide nets and 17-hour work days and move it here, and the people are all driving in, driving nice cars, getting paid well. That's the American system, hell of a lot better, huh, than the communist Chinese slave grid. So it is a major accomplishment of the president. But then you put the little cherry on top, a little microwave radiation on top. So our guest famously also was in a vape shop and got confronted, and on his First Amendment stood up to him. But then he's an engineer in cell towers. That's well known. So now he's putting the 5G in. He's reading what they're telling him as one of the installers of this. He'll tell you about that in a moment. But here's what our guest, who'll ride shotgun with us when the other guests join us, Ian Ferguson on Twitter, Vape Shop Patriot, Facebook.com, Capitalism Wins Again. And so, Ian, we'll go to him in a moment, but let's play him from, a year and a half ago or so. Here it is.
Purchase that vape juice. No! If you sell it to me, I won't. If you sell it to me, look, if you sell it to me, I won't call the police. What you did was assaulted me. What I need is that for my wife. If you sell it to me, I won't call the cops and press charges on you for assault. I won't call corporate and get you fired. Just sell me the product so I can leave.
What do you want?
Naked in the strawberry in a 6 milligram.
Where do you see naked?
Right here. This shit. Where is it?
Where
this
do you see
right
it?
there. Here. Right next to that. In a 6 milligram. Make sure it's a 6 milligram so I don't have to come back.
No, you're not coming back to my store, homie. I'm making sure of that. Get the out of here, dude. Oh my.
God bless America. Capitalism wins again.
Your capitalism. President. He's a racist, stupid piece of shit. You're a racist,
just ring the shit up.
Stupid piece of shit.
All right, let's stop it there. I don't know who bleeped this, but why would you bleep some of the S words and stuff, but not all of them? We get that all the time. I don't think we're doing that. This is like a joke online where this happens. It's happening all the time now. Whatever. I'm sure that's the new way things are. I'll just leave it at that. But Ian Ferguson made his first appearance on Infowars. The video that went viral. Ian is a unapologetic Trump supporter, and he's worked on AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, C Spire, U.S. Cellular, and Microwave Systems. And he's here with us to give us his take on 5G and the Chi-Com rollout of the 6G. Ian, good to have you back with us.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So let's get it. I mean, let's plunge right into 5G.
All right. All right. So 5G, the 5th generation of wireless technology. It's a new way of emitting radio frequency, all right? Non-ionizing radiation. So it's not like uranium or plutonium. The radiation emitted from cell sites is non-ionizing. It's not strong enough to knock the electrons out of their path. That doesn't mean that humans evolved a way to protect ourselves from man-made radiation, right? Now, the difference between 2G, which just it's point and shoot. You've got 4G, which emits itself in a bubble. 360-degree guy. We actually broadcast more up and down at the sky and the ground than we do to our consumers. 5G uses polyphase arrays to focus the radio frequency into a beam, call it millimeter wave, using a technique called beamforming. And this allows it to transmit data a lot faster, but it shortens the range because it's a higher frequency. The wave is more hyperactive. It expends its energy quicker. So they're going to have to put in what they call small cells, like every 8 to 10 houses or so. They're talking about another 1 million cell sites to make this happen because it doesn't go very far, right? The data transfers are unbelievable. It's a jump up of 15 to 30 gigabytes per second, and it's significant. It's going to allow self-driving cars to talk to each other so that they can self-drive.
It's going to allow the AI globalist takeover and the replacement of humans, and it's going to allow the spying on everything. And, of course, they can turn the power up above specs and fry you with it. We'll talk all about it with one of the engineers, one of the technicians that installs these systems straight ahead. Then we're going to bring on inventors, engineers, journalists that are exposing secret 5G going in a town near you. I tend to pontificate, and then my knowledgeable guest kind of demur and let me run on. So I'm going to really attempt now to have a gentleman, right from the point-blank range of this, who work with the 5G system. He's worked with all the systems, and he's laying it out. He's known to us. He's Ian Ferguson. And then we have the engineer and inventor who exposed the hidden light poles in the UK. We first exposed this in 2011. They're going in everywhere. They already have 5G in them. So there's a governmental and corporate and state-run system here. It's already here. Like the Chi-Coms are like 6G is now coming out. So this is a very quick takeover. I'm not against self-driving cars. I'm not against technology, except the way they're being designed and rolled out is to make a post-human world, a very monopolistic system, and that's why I don't want this post-human system. The architecture of the technocracy is very anti-human. So, Ian, you've got the floor. As somebody that puts these in, I've seen some of your viral videos breaking it down. Give us the DL.
Okay, so the down low, originally created by Israel, and the technology's banned by Israel. Israel is 100% fiber optic. Brussels, they just banned it. There are multiple states and municipalities here in the U.S. that are calling for a moratorium on it until further testing can be done. All right, I watched the Senate hearing with Senator Blumenthal grilling the tech giants, wanting to know how much money they've got invested in the health and ecological effects of this brand new technology, and their answer was zero, nada. Right, so, by
the way, we just heard the record skip noise and the car crash noise. Anybody can pull this up. The inventors have banned it. Brussels is banning it. And, of course, they have a much higher level of allowable microwave radiation, correct?
Yeah, they do. Now, and legitimately, what we're told is a safe level of radio frequency. The recent data you can find on PubMed is showing that it is much, much lower than what we're told is safety. I mean, we've got to go through radio frequency awareness every couple of years and re-up our certification. And they tell us that you can stick your head in front of one of these antennas for up to 30 minutes and just pouring cold water on yourself will fix it. No problems. It's not cumulative. But you know what? I've put meat in a microwave, and I'm guessing that pouring ice water on it is not going to bring it back to a raw state. So that just throws red flags for me.
Bingo. By the way, I meant to do this before the show, and I didn't do it. I got busy. Because you're the guy that goes through the specs and has the certifications. What should they type in to pull up the signs on the 5G that shows the skull and crossbones and explains it's dangerous and causes cancer? Because there's a lot of those different ratings, and if you tell them what to type in, they can pull it up for TV viewers.
Let's see, radio frequency hazard ratings.
Radio frequency hazard signs, 5G hazard signs. Yeah, that should do it.
Oh, look, you can very easily search for radio frequency awareness. The videos, industry standard videos, are available online for free. Go find out what you're bathing in. We are in a sandwiched effect of electromagnetic fields and radio frequency.
Here's an example. There's a patriot around here. I say, I want to interrupt, but I'm just going to back you up. Named George. He's been a friend of the show. But he was, in Vietnam, a bunch of other wars. But they were running a microwave relay tower from North Africa into the Middle East, and it was just a few-man team up there. And he would talk about how they would put their cans of beans in front of it, and 30 minutes later it'd be boiling hot. And he goes, that's an example of the microwaves and how dangerous they are.
No, and that's microwave, though.
Yes.
The dishes transmit a much different signal than our antennas do. And the FCC says they're safe to certain levels. I just want to see additional research done by my government to tell me that it's safe.
So let me ask this. Why is Israel and Brussels banning it?
Well, I'm guessing because it's got its original origins in military application. And that's what threw red flags for me. As soon as I heard millimeter wave, the active denial system employed by the United States military uses millimeter wave radio frequency to raise the skin temperature of a crowd till they feel like they're boiling and they just disperse. And I was familiar with that system prior to 5G training, and that just threw all sorts of red flags for me. So essentially, I'm going to be installing military-grade crowd control on every street corner. It doesn't sound right. And I'd really like somebody to do additional research and let us know that, hey, here are the long-term health effects. This stuff's getting steamrolled and pushed in because there's big money in it, because there's a scream for faster phones and self-driving cars and automation, but they're not investing the time and money to find out what the long-term effects on us are. Right now, you can go check out PubMed, and they're showing that the effects of millimeter wave radio frequency over the short-term exposure damages the cellular membranes. And that sounds like a quick path to mutation to me. You know, if my cells are now no longer whole in and of themselves and can bleed together, then what happens there? Now, they say this is non-cumulative and it's just a heating and just a thermal issue. No, I want to see my government.
Well, let me tell you, because I've looked at this, Ian. I mean, I've got a whole folder right here of even mainstream news. You can get thousands of studies going back 40 years on all of this. Regular cell phone radiation, and I know you're saying 5G is a little bit different, but studies show it can increase cancer risk. Even LA Times reported that this breaks DNA chains, that the way these waves are going out is breaking DNA chains and is associated with cancer.
Yes, and I've read some of those studies as well, and especially with the millimeter wave, because it's such a higher frequency and it's got a focus to it. Originally, I thought it was going to be like a constant tether, which come to find out that would be safer. But being pulsed the way that 5G is going to be, when your phone receives that cellular transmission, that millimeter wave, it's essentially like a radio frequency bullet. You're catching every bit of that radiation. Now, it's non-ionizing. It's not uranium or plutonium. But the bottom line is the human beast did not evolve a mechanism to defend ourselves against man-made radiation. All right, so let's start there. We weren't made to handle this type of radiation.
It's not of this world.
Right. It's something we're doing to ourselves. And there's just like the people that we elect to protect us, to tell us what is and isn't safe, and to make sure that we're not running around killing each other and killing ourselves. There's no testing being done at that level to make sure that this is safe. And you see all sorts of shock videos online about bees dropping dead in swarms, about the reduction of the sparrow population in London. You see the reports of nosebleeds and emotional issues and disorders in Gateshead out in United Kingdom. And it's shocking.
Oh, there's no doubt that all these different types of waves and the pollution is having an effect on the electrochemical activity inside the brain and these tiny neurons. That's been studied for thousands of years, and now science has proven that during a full moon, there are more space waves and all different types of radiation coming in, and that affects plant life, that affects animals, that affects humans. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff in this universe. I mean, you go outside, solar radiation will burn your skin. And so absolutely, to just tell us it's all fine when all the studies say, no, it's not fine. And then I've had engineers on air about this that have multiple degrees in electrical engineering, computer engineering, telecommunications. That fiber optics is up to 1,000 times faster than 5G right now. And you're pointing out Israel has that and others. Why the hell wouldn't we just go with fiber optics? Why would we want this? Because again, they want all this autonomous crap. They don't want it to serve humans and be super quick. They want to have this autonomous stuff everywhere so it's not plugged in.
Well, that and digging the channels for laying fiber optic coast to coast and town to town, city to city, that is a monumental undertaking, even bigger than laying in an extra 1 million cell sites or contracting SpaceX to fly an additional 12,000 radio frequency emitting satellites.
That's it. Trump loves it because it's going to be a boom for the economy.
Yes. And look, I'm a Trump supporter. All right. I'm wearing a Make America Great Again hat right now. I'm concerned that maybe he hasn't been given the additional information, that maybe somebody pulled it off his desk, that maybe the tests aren't being handed to him.
Maybe this is a guy that drinks 10 Diet Cokes a day that eat your brain. This is a guy that eats Kentucky Fried Chicken and McDonald's all day. He doesn't know that's bad for him. He eats burnt steak. He eats it with ketchup. Great, that's wonderful. But that, again, I love Trump. He's basically autistic in a way, and I think a lot of us are. But exactly, he has a blind spot because he thinks, oh, technology will give us a bunch of jobs. We're in a race against the Chi-Coms. Well, they've already got 6G. We got to get this in right now. But at what cost is what you're saying?
Exactly. And hey, who's to say? Maybe this stuff's benign. Maybe there's no additional hazard from EMF and radio frequency exposure, but that's not what thousands of scientists and doctors across the face of the world are standing up and saying. They're calling for a moratorium globally because...
Let's talk about that global moratorium. Now, our guest is a technician engineer who installs these systems, 5G and many others, Ian Ferguson. He's been on the show before talking about other issues. And he was getting into a lot of top scientists are calling for a global moratorium on this. Other governments like Israel that invented it have banned it. And it's because there's so many of them and they're up close. And anybody knows about transmission, the closer you are, the more dangerous it is. And again, there are many mainline studies of this giving rats brain cancer, you name it. We know brain cancer is way up. There's a lot of contributing factors. So please continue down that line of there's a big fight going on over this. I mean, whole cantons or states in Switzerland are banning it. I mean, there's a big move here.
All right. We've got calls here in the United States, Louisiana, New Hampshire, Indiana, some places in Florida. They're calling for a moratorium until additional testing has been done. And I know Trump specifically has said he doesn't want to install any Chinese-made telecom, right? Well, I just spent the summer installing Chinese-made 5G in the Midwest. Made in China, assembled in Mexico, installed in the United States Midwest. So, I mean, be that as it may, it's coming, and it's coming faster than anybody can stop it.
What about the big angle, as you were saying, Huawei? This can get into any device. It can spy on people easier, and that's. But then Apple and all these other companies have totally moved in with China anyway. So it's like one arm's the Chi-Coms, the other arm's the same tentacle, and Trump's just doesn't seem to understand that.
And I really can't speak to the mind of Trump or what information he does or does not have, but it paints a really scary picture. The United States FirstNet system that we just spent the last couple of years installing, which provides first responders with reliable telecommunications in the event of disaster or emergency, that's Chinese made as well. So you start adding the pieces together, and look, I really want somebody that I've elected to protect me and safeguard my family to look into this. I want to know
and you stand to make a lot of money installing this, but you don't want brain tumors for yourself and your children.
I've kind of written off my own safety. Look, climbing cell phone towers is one of the most dangerous jobs on the face of the planet. There, as a mass cell phone tower climbers, some of the bravest, most heartwarming, self-sacrificing individuals you meet. They spend most of their lives 20 plus hours away from their children, and they're up there doing this to maintain the E911 system. And yeah, we make decent money. We make better money than I'm going to make anywhere else at an entry level. I'm a 38-year-old felon. There's no way I'm making this type of money that's going to be able to put my kids through college doing anything else, and I'm not going to stop because I'm good at it. So And for those of you that want to call me a Nazi and say that the Nazis just followed orders, I'm not just following orders. I'm doing the best I can to provide for my children the best I can after a lifetime.
People say to me, like, you criticize Apple, but you got Apple computers, because they're all evil. These companies are all bad. Just because we know the leadership of something's evil, it doesn't make the thing itself evil. Because we got to live in a system doesn't mean you're saying, hey, this looks like it's dangerous. They're telling us it's dangerous, but then it's your job. That's not hypocritical at all. This is what you've been doing for years, and now it's coming, and you are an expert. You're telling us. What's evil is to be an expert because you've experienced it, and then to say, oh, no, everything's fine because you think, oh, you might hurt your bottom line.
I mean, what am I going to do? Quit my job and go wait tables and maybe not be able to pay the rent? No, I'm going to do what I'm really good at, and I'm really good at climbing cell phone towers and installing this technology. I'm not going to stop. Now, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to put my employers on blast, but I'm going to keep doing my job because it's something I'm good at. And I believe in the E911 system. When your grandma falls and breaks her hip, it's going to be because
all these systems are great except the globalists can Trojan horse them. Stay there. We've got this big gentleman coming on that exposed the hidden 5G. I want to get all your takes on this. It was back in 2011 that myself and Paul Watson first began putting out articles about secret 5G surveillance systems inside lampposts going in D.C., New York, Chicago, Austin, Texas, London, England, Berlin, Germany. And also pointing out, wow, this is some kind of new high-powered array system that's very powerful but only goes a certain distance. Then we learned about secret stingray units, and we literally got documents about just all these different types of systems. And the fact that all of them in studies are linked to cancer or cause cancer. I mean, a lot of these will burn you if you stay close to them. But 5G isn't as powerful, but it's sent out in bursts, and there's more of it. Over 1 million towers they want to put up. You've heard people complain, get the towers off the schools of the regular microwave radiation for cell phones and all the tumor clusters there. So Mark Steele is an engineer, inventor, patent writer, and expert on EMF weapon systems. He has invented a number of optive waveguides and HUD systems to mitigate the effects of battlefield radiation weapon systems. He's worked in research and project development for 30 years. Mark has worked on large secret EMF systems at weapons facilities, which he cannot talk about, and is covered under the OSA. Mark Steele built weapons-targeted rigs for subsea torpedo projects using target acquiring technologies in the radiation spectrum. When he can share is the secret weapons program development out of Operation Paperclip and the UN Resilient City agenda that our governments have secretly signed up to in deploying a 5G weapon. Then it includes the autonomous electrification agenda scam, saveusnow.org.uk. And again, a lot of countries like Israel that invented this are banning it. That's mainstream news. Now, it's not just what this does to your body, it's what it controls. And this is all about these so-called smart cities that they didn't tell anybody about in Toronto. And when people find out about it, it's a surveillance group. They go, oh, it's for the Earth. So we've got Mark Steele from the inside. And then we've got one of the people that installs it, Ian Ferguson, from right there where the rubber meets the road. And then we've got Mike Adams, another engineer, joining us as well. And, of course, Mark made big headlines when he broke open one of these streetlights. And there was the 5G inside. And that's not denied. But to me, he's like, well, he's still a conspiracy theorist. He doesn't like it. And, of course, these things scoop up all your other electronic data from your, quote, smart devices, which are all designed to be wide open. So let's play a little bit of that clip and then actually go to Mark Steele. Here it is.
Depending on where you are. But obviously, the first opportunity you would get would be to step down so then you don't have to waste money on larger cables. So you see the small cables going into the LEDs, that's them going into the housing there. You do need big cables. Big cables are a lot more expensive, and obviously when you do your design, you want to use as less cost as possible because obviously there's more profit in it. So what you don't need is that. So you see on the right hand side here, you've actually got a step down, go into those junction boxes, and then they go into them cables down to the LEDs. What we see on the left-hand side is an increase. So this actually increases the power to these very large cables up through here to this connector, and that connector fits to this connector. That connector then goes up to this box here, which is the antenna. This company since went into administration. I'm going to take this to pieces now, but people have seen them before. Now, one of the things they're upset about, a couple of things they're upset about, is the breakdown of this. All right, let's try and see and get it focused. That's a 450 volt capacitor. Now, what is a capacitor, people ask? A capacitor holds a charge that can be discharged in milliseconds. All right, so what I do, I charge that up, get it full of energy. All right, for some inexplicable reason, I want to put the power in here. I want to increase it. It's a 450 volt capacitor. All right, which then, depending on the amperage, right, which that looks to me like it's a, did I say 3 amps? And then what happens? You increase the wattage to this delivery system.
An antenna.
Right. See that little tit on the end? Looks like a teardrop. It's a dew. These are the antennas that Wheeler spoke about. You know, he said there was some very clever engineers that had developed antenna systems that can target, acquire, and shoot. Well, this is the shooty targeting a legal piece of hardware. All right.
Now let's stop right there. And we got to have these gentlemen back and do like 5 hours on this, 10 hours. We got to have them on all the shows because I got approached in 1996 and told about it. Then in 97, I got approached again by an engineer, and I mean a high-level engineer. He said, listen, I told you break open a Scientific Atlantic cable box. There's a hidden microphone in it. It's recording everything, and then it's put into keyword data, and it's NSA technology. And later it came out it was true. Now, I literally, when I covered this, I had U.S. military twice come up to me in parking lots at Target and at a TV station and threatened to basically kill me if I didn't stop talking about it. Because back then, they didn't want this out then. Now it's like, oh, yeah, sure, there's hidden microphones and everything. You know, the Ring system has another hidden one if you turn it off. There's another hidden. And then I actually physically got attacked. I don't think these guys were military because, I mean, I'm pretty tough, but I beat the hell out of all four of them pretty quick. Tore one guy's nose almost completely off. But they were sent like kind of thugs, thought they were boxers to, you know, they'd punch me and thought I was going to fall over. But they did not want this out. So what these guys are bringing you is huge. Mark Steele, God bless you. Just get into what you discover, what you've seen. I know you've did a lot of classified work. That's confirmed. They've looked into you. That's why you know what you're looking for. And I know I'm told law enforcement gave this to you because they were giving you a tip. Was this scary as hell when you opened that up and you knew what you were looking at?
Well, I already knew what the equipment was, Alex. I had part of the equipment thrown at me by a lighting engineer when I challenged him about the equipment that had been fitted where we had children bleeding from the nose. I had a number of neighbours that started bleeding. I'd measured the radiation levels in people's bedrooms at 1,700, 2,000 millivolts. The law states the maximum should be 200 millivolts. So they were significantly higher than that. And obviously, I challenged one of the lighting guys. Unfortunately for the council, a lot of those lighting columns then started to be destroyed locally, and especially where I lived. They did try to blame me, but I can tell you it was definitely somebody else. And what actually happened, they had to come and repair them. They came to repair them with police escorts. So they came with police escorts to fit what that is, most certainly a target acquiring weapon system. This is not, these LED arrays are all part of a weapon. The LED itself is a classified weapon system. And what I mean by that, people want to go, well, you know, he's saying it's a weapon. Well, I'm going to explain what a weapon is. A weapon is a thing that causes bodily harm. I'm a weapon systems expert. If you give a joiner a 2x4 piece of timber, he'll think it can make a chair or some other piece of furniture. If you give me a bit of 2x4, I see a club. I automatically look at things.
No, I understand. Covert weapons, silent weapons, quiet wars. Well, I mean, I have to tell you, This is all the Wonder Kid project. My dad wasn't that special. They did it for hundreds of thousands. People got different funding projects, but he won the project. So one of the big steel companies gave him, in an 18-wheeler that showed up, a ruby laser, a large one. And he was supposed to build a particle beam with it, and then he did that and fried a bunch of stuff and almost blinded himself with it. And then he got recruited in some other projects after that. But he was 15 when he made that particle beam, and I think that's what you're getting at. Is this is a type of particle beam? Let's talk about that with this engineer on the other side, and we will get Ian Ferguson's take on this as well. Please stay with us. This is really, really important, and this is real, and this is happening. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, no matter how crazy this all sounds, that's Skull and Bones, and all this stuff's what they're really doing. All right, Ian Ferguson, I want him to be able to pop in here too. Mike Adams is coming up bottom of the hour. He's an engineer. Mark Steele worked in classified areas with weaponized beams, microwaves, radiation, particle beams, all this stuff. SaveUsNow.org.uk. His audio is a little hammered. We'll see if we were able to fix that during the break. But bottom line, as you're pointing out under UK laws and others, this is way more powerful than it's supposed to be. There's equipment built into this that isn't supposed to be there, and only an engineer can see this. And this has been going on for a long time. Again, I was told in 1996 that, look at the Telecommunications Act, these engineers said. They said they've passed it. By 2000, all cell phones will be GPS targeted, and they'll all be able to be remotely accessed and listen to you, and they'll be called smartphones. And I was saying all this because engineers were telling me. Well, now it's all ubiquitous. I'm telling people something they already know. The sky's blue. But you're laying out the next wave of this. Is that fair to say, Mark Steele?
Absolutely. The whole deployment is a weapon system. The whole 5G is a weapon system. I can explain that. 5G antenna, one of the technical parameters is actually the focus of energy in air. So where a telecommunications transmitter radiates air away from the person, away from the antenna, it's called inverse square law. A 5G antenna, using either offset or dielectric lens, actually focus the signal, so a little bit more like a laser. So it's a totally opposite to a normal telecommunications. That's 1G, 2G,
and that's why it does burst. Explain that. So I was right looking at this. They're all thinking it's low power because what's coming off the surface is low power, but it's being focused like a particle beam, is what you're saying?
You can focus it very much. The best way to explain it's like layman's terms. However, this beam actually skitters. It's theoretical because nobody can see them, so it's a theoretical beam, and it skitters a bit like lightning. If you could see a lightning strike. Obviously,
but if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. You know, like the other dimensions and our little friends. But of course, it is scientific. It is there. It does exist.
Absolutely. Well, they've been used as weapon systems for a number of years. The first weapon system was called Mammoth. It was actually the Germans used it during the Second World War. It was a radar targeted firing piece of equipment to identify Allied aircraft. A number of Allied aircraft crews suffered significant detrimental health effects, burning their eyes, causing significant harm. That was hidden. That was the hidden history of, obviously during the war, a lot of the stuff's classified, so that was hidden information, but it showed that the Germans were well ahead with being able to use offset phased signals to punch out what's called a beam wave, and actually use it as radar. But those beam waves, pointed beam waves, are extremely toxic. One of the reasons why a lot of servicemen coming back from battle zones suffering PTSD, they've actually got a brain injury. Nobody's telling them they've been probably near some weapons platform that used phase offset signals for radar, battlefield interrogation. They've been somewhere near it, and because it travels with ease through the head and the rest of the body, because these are sub-gigahertz. One of the things I want to dispel in relation to 5G, everybody talks about the 30 gigahertz to the 300. 5G currently is operating in the sub-gigahertz range. It is more dangerous. It's a significantly more dangerous part of the spectrum than some of the higher frequencies. The higher frequencies don't travel very well through brickwork and concrete. Sub-gigahertz travels through it with ease, and that's the reason it's 3D urban radar That's why it operates in the sub-gigahertz.
And you're showing your torpedo submarine knowledge there exactly, because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just like through water or just like through rock. It is the same thing, that it's a solid field instead of a long wave, so it pushes through the rock or through the water or through the structure. So they're saying it's weak, but you're saying it has even greater penetration power.
Absolutely. Sub-gigahertz, that can travel through 30 foot of reinforced concrete, and that's why they're using it. The antennas, like you saw, the ones I broke down, have got a footprint 15 kilometers in the urban environment. We have 31,875 of those transmitters in a very, very small area, a place called Gateshead. Gateshead was the test center, the epicenter, and it's not called Gatehead. It's the original name, Gatehead. I'd suggest people have a look at it. It actually has the Angel of the North. The Angel of the North is Moloch. It's not being tested in Gateshead for any other reason. It has some links to some devilish plot, some devilish scheme. I mean, I know we're talking about God and the devil, but believers, I'm pretty sure the reason why I'm here is to fight against this, because unfortunately for Gateshead Council, that emblem is the goat head, another satanic sign. Well, unfortunately, I live in Gateshead, and I am an expert in this particular field, and they've deployed the equipment on my countrymen, women, and children. And not only
let's
that,
explain. It's being tested. The town. We'll pull it up when we come back. I want to get the take here from Ian Ferguson. Really scary hearing this information. What's your view on this?
No, actually, Mark was the one that clued me in on sub-gigahertz in the beginning, and I should have picked it up in my own training. The sub-gigahertz frequency is 600, 700, 850. These are ground-following waves, all right? Well, at the advent of 3G, when we were able to receive data packets, the sub-gigahertz frequencies allow the wireless internet service providers to triangulate your geolocation, all right? So they really do radar map their environment. If you can receive a data packet, if you can receive a text, they know where you are down to within like 3 feet. If you're in the middle of downtown, 40 stories up in somebody's office in the middle of a building, they can literally bounce your data packets off of other buildings to get them to you. And that's where the sub-gigahertz frequencies gives them their radar mapping capabilities. They know what's moving on the ground. With the advent of 5G, it becomes much more invasive than that. They'll know when you move your couch around inside your house. Now, we know from Snowden and the WikiLeaks Vault 7 stuff that they've got access to all of the operating systems as is, your Android, your iOS, Windows, all of it. The government's already got listening capabilities.
Well, remember the Batman movie 10 years ago or longer, I forget which one, where they activate everybody's cell phones to create sonar. Well, that's actually real. They actually do that.
Yeah, that's not far off from reality, especially with the advent of 5G. It's going to give them just a godlike surveillance capability over everyone.
Well, I was told this by 2 different engineers, and one of them's son approached me later and said, you know, my dad held some of the patents. He was killed after he gave me that info. I mean, that's how scary all this is. They were telling me all this stuff way back then. I was like, what are you talking about? It's crazy. And why do you get sunglasses? To protect your eyes from solar radiation so you don't get cataracts. But what have they told you? Oh, the sun can't hurt you. So just go out and lay out, you know, in the middle of the summer in August for 10 hours and you'll die. It's a conspiracy theory that the sun can burn your skin. There's all sorts of radiation in this universe. We're talking about it right now. And it's a very serious issue because major governments are banning 5G. I'm going to go to Mike Adams and bring this back to our other 2 guests and really quantify where this is going in a moment. But first, I talk about how one of the biggest problems around here is the fact that I don't plug every segment. Most talk show hosts say, hey, this hour brought to you by, this segment brought to you by, and they just move on. I tend to plug about once an hour. And we're under globalist attack. They're trying to censor us. They're trying to shut us down. I went out to the Apple facility yesterday and had leftists spitting in my face saying, we're going to shut you down. We're going to take you off air. Aha. We're suing you. We're going to get rid of you. I had process server trying to get to me just now. I told them, hey, call my lawyer. I'm sure some new lawsuit because they're mad that we've knocked out most of them. We need to stay on air. And we're also doing a lot of things behind the scenes we're going to stay on the air one way or another, but we need funding. And I make it very easy to fund us because we got products you need. DNA Force Plus is great CoQ10, PQQ, and a bunch of other known organic compounds that boost the cleanup of your cells, that make the telomeres last longer, that are known to, even in heart damage, heal the muscle. I mean, these are studies. DNA Force Plus, find out why it's so amazing. 50% off, store-wide, free shipping, double Patriot points. And there's a lot of other deals. We have our Black Friday sales going right now. And this is how we fund ourselves. We're basically in sales all the time. That's what people expect. But we have to sell a lot more to be able to fund ourselves. Also, we have the new fluoride-free whitening toothpaste that is the only one out there with the patented silver salt solution. It also has the above-ground coral calcium to re-mineralize the teeth and so much more. We're really proud of Super Silver toothpaste. We're very proud of Super Blue. It has the iodine. That's why it turns blue. It's white when it comes out. It turns blue because it has real iodine in it. And it's fluoride-free as well. It's not meant to compete with each other. It's just the silver salt's patented, so it costs us a lot more. So that costs more than the other toothpaste. We have it in children's as well. So InfoWarsStore.com is your things you need. If you just sign up for auto ship, additional 10% off on that order, and then cancel any time for free. But you want to order it every month, every 3 months, you can just click the box so you don't forget to get it. You support us. You get a great product. And then we absolutely frustrate the globalists and stand in the way of all of their horrible aims and behaviors. So you've held us up this long. We just ask you to pray for us and spread the word about the broadcast and also get the great products. So Mike Adams, we're covering some pretty powerful stuff with this major activist, whistleblower, Mark Steele, very accredited fella, worked in the weaponized systems, and he recognizes it out now in the town where he lives in England. And we've got also Ian Ferguson, who puts in the 5G, who's a well-known individual. Quantifying 5G and then the fight against it and the fact that some countries have banned it. In fact, the inventor of it has banned it, and what it really is, Mike, is you're always good for the 35,000-foot view and the zooming in view as well.
I've been listening with fascination. What I want to bring to your attention is that these radiological weapons, you might say, or radio electromagnetic weapons, they have neuropsychiatric effects, Alex. So we're talking about, in this study published in Environmental Research, Wi-Fi is an important threat to human health. This study specifically cites 35 different neurological and neuropsychiatric effects, which means these are mind-altering weapon arrays that are installed in your neighborhood. They catalog 17 psychological disorders, 4 behavioral changes. So these systems, when they point at you, and remember they're directional phased array antennas, they can single you out for behavioral changes. They can literally change your personality in a sense by beaming you with these weapons, and they know where you are.
So it's literally directed energy weapons, the equivalent of modern shock therapy.
Yeah, well, exactly, except it's invisible, but you're telling them where you are by carrying your device around. So you're giving them a target of where to beam the phased array antennas, and then they can decide how much power to put into that signal, how tight the beam is or how wide the beam is. They can decide how many antennas to beam you with simultaneously if they really want to fry your brain. We're talking about chromosomal aberrations, DNA damage, cancer, endocrine system changes, autonomic nervous system effects, as well as the production of what's called peroxynitrites. These are molecules that poison your body from the inside, and the cell membranes, as one of your guests mentioned before, the cell membranes become more permeable due to what's called voltage-gated ion channels. When the voltage penetrates the skin, it changes the permeability of your cell structure, causing calcium poisoning to penetrate your cells, and you get poisoned with calcium, which is a beneficial mineral when it's in the right balance, but if you get too much in your cells, it poisons you from the inside. So, Alex, this is a weapon system. It kills you from the inside, and it alters your mind, and it alters your personality.
And that's not counting the cell phones and the screens and the flicker rates and the destruction of IQ, the early onset of neurological disorders associated with TV, major studies. I mean, all of this is killing us in short. Ian Ferguson, this is powerful stuff from your position as a guy that installs this stuff. What are you thinking right now?
Well, I'm thinking that every long-term tower climber I've ever met suffers from irritability, depression, anger, fatigue at some point. And we've all talked amongst ourselves about it being problematic in the industry. And he laid it out for you right there. There are behavioral changes just for tower climbers. We get pissed, we get depressed, we get upset, and there's really no explanation for it other than what he just said right there. It's us interacting with the electromagnetic fields.
Well, they're telling you in movies like The Kingsman and all this, where the bad guy through the cell phone sends out the phased array to make people violent, and then all the studies are showing that that's what all of this is doing. I want to go back to Mike Adams on this, but Mark Steele, I mean, as an engineer that's actually designed this in classified areas that you now see popping up in the town where you live, I mean, how do we stop this? And who's behind it? And what's the end game?
The end game's full biological destruction. Every biological cell on the planet will be destroyed by 5G. Now, I know that sounds unbelievable, but I know the capacity, and I've seen these weapon systems deployed. Consequently, I know exactly how dangerous they are. The equipment, the LEDs, people have to be mindful. The LED is part of the 5G weapons deployment. It's called soft kill. Right? The program was called soft kill. The pulse modulation, the dangers of LED, they're extremely toxic. They're retinal and retina cell toxic. But where the 5G, the sub-gigahertz, you can't get away from it, where at least you can hide in your building from the LED streetlights, which are toxic. What you can't hide from is that 5G sub-gigahertz, because it can find you, it can target Aquarium. As Mike said before, very interesting point, but they can actually see you because of the nanoparticulates, the aluminium nanoparticulates that actually enter your body. I can actually see you in your home, so I can 3D map you once I actually understand what your characteristics are. You'll see here on this video where the light has been increased. This is in an Asian country. That's part of a weapons program. It's part of UN Resilient Cities Agenda plan.
And we've got to get you back on, because I know you're a great engineer. I'd like to send you an external mic, or there's a lot of noise, I guess, in your laboratory. I can hear a lot of whizzing and buzzing. But you're absolutely right, and these smart cities are literal grids of control, and they're just rolling it in, whereas we slowly cook, like the frog literally in the pot being boiled by the heat, we just roll over and die. Mike Adams will give us a take on that. Mark Steele, of course, Ian Ferguson. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not being alarmist. I have a huge stack. If you're radio listener, you can't see it here. I have like 3 stacks of just mainline studies, mainline announcements. And then we've got 6G. What the hell's that? Let's ask that question of our 2 engineers. Then we've got one of our installers. They're on the ground level, hitting it from every angle, from the classified weapons level to the engineer, journalist exposing it all, to one of the men putting it in on the ground. We've got it all covered. I'm Alex Jones, and this is the Infowars. Now, here's a clip from The Dark Knight, whenever that came out, 10, 15 years ago, time flies, where Batman and the scientist, played by Morgan Freeman, they decided to use the cell phones to do this blast wave, and then it'll allow them to basically sonar or radar everything. Well, before that movie ever came out, the Kinect system, I remember breaking it, can see through a whole bunch of walls in your house. And that's just a computer system, put out by Microsoft. And it turned out they were going in and using it, not just for the games where people play sports and things, but looking through your walls. And that it had really that primary function. So again, this is what's really going on. Let's go ahead and play a clip from Batman.
Hello?
Jim, we're in trouble.
Okay, you got POV on Alpha. I'm Neon Beta.
It's like clowns and hostages on 2 floors. The SWAT team on the stairwell. Another SWAT team on the roof.
And they say we're only going to use this technology once to violate people's rights, never again. So, and then you make the decision watching, yeah, Batman, he's the good guy. But meanwhile, this isn't just spying on you, it's killing you. So to all 3 of you gentlemen, we know they put fluoride in the water. They admit to dumb us down and give us cancer. They admit the GMO is literally killing us. They admit everything being introduced is artificially there to cull us. And they say there's too many people, humans are bad, but they're not just going to cull the numbers. They're dumbing and mutating the species. Mike Adams, I mean, this is planet-wide overwrite of the life on this planet in a attempted silicon takeover. So people say, oh, well, aliens aren't real. We haven't proven it. Well, these genetic human-animal hybrids are alien. They don't come from here. These new technologies are alien. These things never existed before. They can make nanotech viruses that weren't naturally occurring. That's an alien. Alien just means not of this world, new, manufactured. So, this is crazy.
Well, one of the key vectors, of course, of the depopulation agenda that's being pushed by globalists right now is infertility. They consider that a soft kill, which is easier for them than the hard kill methods that they're also rolling out. But soft kill, infertility, is one of the side effects of 5G exposure and EMF exposure. Again, back to the study I cited earlier, it's proven, this EMF exposure is proven to lower testicular size. Literally, to put it bluntly, 5G networks shrink your balls. And they also change testicular epithelial structure, and they decrease spermatogenesis, which is the creation of sperm in the testes. So we're talking about lowered sperm levels, which are already a problem due to chemical exposure, massive infertility, also combined with the overlay of abortion.
And where do you keep that new 5G cell phone? Right in your pocket, perfect to boil the huevos.
But when you shrink the testes and you reduce the function of the testes, you also reduce the manhood, the actual hormones that make men men. Many of them are produced right there in the testes.
And we know there's a war on men, and so they go, oh, you don't feel manly? Well, here, we'll take even more female hormones, and let's just cut that pesky thing off.
It's the feminization and the weaponization combined. So that's the thing.
And it's all integrated, and then as we mutate, if you go, hey, you're being mutated, they go, don't stop my beautiful transformation, Omega Man, and they throw the spear into your heart.
And remember, they can selectively target individuals. So previously, under 4G and 3G networks, those were omnidirectional signals, so they could not pick out specific individuals. I'm sure your other guests will confirm this. 5G uses directional, narrowly focused beams, so they can specifically target individuals with these effects, different frequencies and different power levels.
And that's what Mark Steele specifically as an engineer is opening up and showing, just added stuff, putting these street lights. Mark, how do we stop it? What's the end game of these people?
What we'll have to do is we'll have to gather our resources and resistance. We set up a resistance. We're building a resistance army. It's God's army. Because this is an attack on God's creatures, so on God's earth. And this is by evil, pure evil monsters. And we have to rise up and fight back. We have to be part of the resistance.
Really, it's true. It is a silicon invasion directed by transhumanists, publicly saying the post-human world is here. This is beyond science fiction nightmare. This is really happening.
That's absolutely really happening. The technology is being developed as a weapon system. It is not. It's masquerading as a light. I can prove that beyond any shadow of a doubt. All optical radiation is a hazard. They've taken the diffuser, you put diffusers on light systems to reduce the optical radiation hazard. That particular light you see in front of you has got no diffusers. It uses a 450 nanometers to 460 nanometers emission. This is blue light radiation, the blue phosphor coating. They've got a phosphor coating on to make them give the appearance of white light. They're absolutely lethal. They're lethal. It's a weapon. It has no diffuser. If that piece of equipment had a diffuser... And
let's go further. Most poisons, if not lethal immediately, are addicting because your body realigns its metabolic system to survive and tries to adapt to it. But they're designing us to adapt to our overall destruction. You want to speak to that, Mike Adams? I want to go back to Ian Ferguson.
Yeah, these are binary weapon systems in the sense that, remember, the peroxynitrite production in your body from exposure to these systems creates free radicals that have inflammatory effects, which are linked to cancer and neurological disorders and so on. So combined with the food supply, which is deliberately stripped of antioxidants and nutrition, you have nutrient-depleted food, which makes you susceptible to the EMF weapon systems, the 5G systems that create free radical pro-oxidation molecules in your body and kill you from disease and neurological disorders and things like that.
This is a plug. This is a plug, but I've been neurotically taking DNA Force Plus with the PQQ and CoQ10 in it. And everybody's like, man, you look 10 years younger. You've lost all this weight. I'm doing the same thing I was doing months ago. I'm just religiously taking X2. I'm religiously taking X3. I'm religiously taking DNA Force Plus. I'm religiously flushing my gut with Gut Fusion. And these are great products. products at InfoWarsStore.com. There's other great products out there as well, folks, but I'm telling you, this is what we come from, the earth. It's what God gave us. The drug companies are trying to mimic this with their own poisonous versions of all this. God gave us this information, and I'm telling you, it's amazing.
Dietary antioxidants. Dietary supplements can literally help protect your body from the toxic effects of 5G radiation.
There's absolutely no doubt. I mean, they admit that PQ2, regrowth cells, CoQ10, all of this is insane. It's crazy. And again, filter your water. They make fun of me saying filter your water when it's the #1 place you're getting toxins. It's incredible. Ian Ferguson, as a father, as a patriot, there's no doubt this is going on. And it's why I asked you the question, what's directing it? What's their end game? And we're being told everywhere it's a post-human world.
Money. Beyond that, you got Agenda 21. You just take a look at the Georgia Guidestones. They set it down in 16 different languages. They want to reduce our population by at least 55%. They feel so strongly about it, they carved it into stone and set it as a monument.
Ted Turner paid for that. He wants us at 500 million.
Yeah.
80+% reduction. But yeah, they said at least that. They're doing it. It's everywhere. They're doing it to us. What's crazy is it's doing it to them. They're willing to die to get us. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know that they're willing to die to get us. They're definitely willing to kill us off to get their ends. I mean, they feel strongly enough about it to carve it into stone and set it as a monument. They need to reduce the population. They believe that what we've got is unsustainable and that our growth is so exponential that we are going to overwhelm our natural resources.
And the truth is, we're just going to build unlimited planets, and it's been proven that humans make their environments better once we go through a certain phase. They're trying to suppress us before we hit a certain escape velocity. Mark Steele, you want to speak to the end game?
Yes, I'd love to just interject there. The nuclear power stations are under attack. Got a vibration from small meters. They're breaking down the bund bolts, the stainless steel jackets, and the nuclear fission inside them. If you do not have the maintenance crews to keep those reactors cool, they'll all die. This is not the Georgia Guidestones narratives. This will kill all biological life on the planet. Think about all those nuclear power stations failing like Chernobyl and hitting the water table and killing all biological life for the next 350,000 years. So any fool that thinks that 500 million people are going to be saved if we don't stop 5G, you're a fool. 5G.
Well, that's why I said the globalists say they're going to shake off their humanity and merge with machines. The transmission, they say that their worldview, this thing they're doing, they believe that they're going to throw off their coil and merge with silicon and be, quote, perfected. That's why I was saying is they are dying in the process as well.
Alex, they're crazy, because what happens, if you ever seen any robots in a nuclear reactor, I've actually worked with them, believe it or don't last 5 minutes. You get a robot last like 3 or 4 hours in a nuclear reactor, they're not going to survive either. What happened? They've been duped as well. Because obviously this is a higher...
We're the third rock out from the sun in a huge radiation blast. We're incredibly powerful. Machines can't survive this. They oxidate, they rust, they break. We are superior. And everybody knows it. We built all this. And we're at embryonic level. Incredible. We get final comments from all of you guys, and Matt Brackett's coming up. Mike Adams, naturalnews.com. Mark Steele, saveusnow.org.uk. And Ian Ferguson, stay with us. The average person is in a trance, mind scrambled, and it's getting worse. And they just think they'll slowly turn up the ambient background until it's all over. And they admit they're doing it. And they say humans are a horrible species, and these are fellow humans saying that. They're not psychotic or anything. They're not dangerous. I'm just sure they came up with this plan all by themselves. Ian Ferguson, closing comments, and I really appreciate you joining us today.
Closing comments. If you're concerned, contact your local representatives, your state representatives. Speak out, speak up. We've got to get the word out. We've got to keep this conversation going because we're all going to be affected. We are all currently being affected. Do your research, look into it, search and research everything that's been said today. Everything me and the other two guests have said, easily researched, easily verified. Look into it for yourself. Oh, and Epstein didn't kill himself.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Now there's a full-blown criminal investigation and people indicted. Wow. All right. Thank you, sir. Mark Steele.
Yes, Alex. Can you hear me?
I'm just saying, Mark Steele, this is real. The average person just can't admit this is being done to them. It's all public.
The problem that they've got, Alex, it's so unbelievable. I do talks about this, and what I say to people is, you know, they'll have to listen to me for an hour. I don't expect you to believe it. I do expect you to do your own research. You'll find it's absolutely terrifying. This is real. Unfortunately, the words that come out of my mouth are the truth. People only have to do a modicum of research, run them in weapons program, paperclip. Herman P. Schwamm, he brought the weapons system from Germany. It was already tested on the camps, and inmates knew about the signal systems and the low energy levels that are needed to do significant harm to a person. Like I said, 5G, the collimated signals in air, is actually a weapons program. The LED deployment is a program called soft kill. These are weapons deployments. This is not street lighting at all.
That's right. All right, we'll talk to you again, Mark. Mark Steele, thank you so much. And we'll send him an external microphone because he's got a lot of great information. Mike Adams, I meant to get to this. 6G, we're now told just 6G, 7G, 8G. What's 6G?
Well, I don't know what the technical specs are for that specific protocol, but we know that the wavelengths are getting smaller, so they're becoming more energized with every generation of this. So 6G would involve more towers located more in closer proximity to your area because they wouldn't have as much distance. Just like 5G, you have to have a lot of towers compared to 4G. 6G would be able to carry more bandwidth, and it would have more energy, so it would worsen all of these effects that we're talking about. But before I go here, Alex, I just want to mention a couple of possible solutions because there are things you could do to help protect yourself. I know time is almost out here, but number one, nutrition. Antioxidants really matter. Both fat-soluble and water-soluble antioxidants can help protect your body. Secondly, you can choose not to use these devices. Don't use a 5G phone. Don't use a 6G phone when it comes out. Thirdly, get out of the cities because they can't install these towers everywhere across the entire land. They have to install them in the high population density centers. Cities are the kill grid hubs. That's what's coming. Get out of the cities, you may just save your life. So there you go.
And that's what Agenda 21 is to make us live in compact cities and coffin apartments. They're literally, the walls are lined with the wireless garbage.
Yeah. I mean, cities are artificial constructs. They are going to be the kill zones no matter what happens in the future. Grid is down, food supply collapses, economic collapse, war, whatever. But also 5G is a deliberate kill grid. It's here now. You need to get out of the cities. They are kill zones. You cannot survive there long term if you stay there and live there. It's just not sustainable.
Man, I get out in the country, I just feel great. I go out to Big Bend, there's no cell towers. It's just like you just suddenly feel like you're 5 years old again. It's amazing. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for spending so much time with us. Really groundbreaking work. Hope the listeners get this out to everybody so that we can have a pro-human future. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We're going to have Matt Bracken take over, author, former Navy SEAL, smart guy, and then Owen Schroyer in the War Room. I didn't get much into Trump and the Apple protest yesterday. It was successful. Appreciate everybody coming out there. It was great to see so many people. And I got to say, Trump just says, "Hey, we got to compete with the Chinese." It's like nuclear weapons. The U.S. made nuclear weapons, so then let's just give them to everybody else. It's like, hey, look, there's a light socket. Let's stick our finger in it. Hey, we can create a bioweapon that'll kill every human on Earth. Well, let's make that. Somebody else might make that. And now 5G, well, it gives you cancer, but man, I tell you, it's really great for self-driving cars. Well, let's put that in right away. And by the time you hear that, oh, there's 6G, there's 7G, oh, it's out of control. I saw a funny comment on Infowars today. So the only difference between Infowars and MSM is that Infowars has more commercials. That's not true. We have the same amount of commercials as cable television or talk radio. We're actually on TV stations and radio stations. That's why we have this. But for people that have never really watched TV or listened to radio, and that's a lot of people now, they're like, hey, isn't this a podcast? Where the ads, the shirt they're wearing, and they plug stuff every 5 minutes anyways. I do intend, and we do intend to start very soon, podcasts that are going to be set, they're going to go out, that you can subscribe to, that are basically, you know, an hour of stuff, maybe get 3 minutes of ads, because that's what people prefer, and that's what people actually get. But the format to be on radio stations and TV stations is this, 14 minutes of ads an hour. And so a lot of the ads we have are actually just informational news pieces. And the way it works is we chop this up and put it out as a podcast. There aren't really ads on it. We have a commercial-free podcast, too. The globalists want to shut down this independent multimedia organization that's pro-human. And it's absolutely imperative it stay on the air. Plus, I'm going to sell you things that you like and get good results from that you want to use again. We're not just trying to have some slick advertising and then sell you something one time. I want a relationship with you. Our iodine, the missing link. 2 billion people have neurological disorders or low IQs. What's the term Encyclopedia Britannica uses? Club Med and all that. It's Club Med's Mediterranean. What's the Club Doctor, whatever the hell it is. Just look it up for yourself. Wikipedia, too, says more than 2 billion people have intellectual disabilities. It's a nice fancy new term for a form of retardation. It just means you're behind. Think about that. From lack of iodine. And governments used to put it in the salt and food so you'd had smart people in fertility, but they take it out now and give you the bad halogen to make sure, even if you get the good one, they're blocking it with that fluoride. People ask, how do you bounce off the walls? How do you have so much energy? I've got more energy now than I had when I was 20. And a lot of it is because mission-oriented, and these are serious times. But it's because I filter my water, I take clean iodine, and I take DNA Force and things like that, and I gobble fish oil. And I'm glad I started getting on all this stuff 7 years ago, because I'd gained 100 pounds, thought the globalists would kill me anytime, didn't care about myself anymore. And then one my friend of mine said, hey, you know, you're doing their job for them, not caring and, you know, drinking whiskey and smoking cigars and eating steaks, you know, and doing all this stuff. You need, not steaks are bad, but, you know, every night. You need to really go out and exercise. Like, oh, I ride the bike around the neighborhood 30 minutes. Well, how about 2 hours? And so it was really hard to, you know, go down over 60 pounds from the 100 pounds I'd gained. And then I gained a little bit back, and now I'm going to go down all the way. And it's the products at InfoWarsStore.com. And so if you do one thing today, it's please tell people about the broadcast and then send along the articles and videos. That's part of that, whatever you think is most important. And separately, the big thing you can do is buy the products, because I metaphysically don't follow some magic rules out of some, you know, sorcerer's book. I neurotically try to treat people like I want to be treated. So that means when I blow up and I'm a jerk sometimes and things, because I'm upset about things, I apologize profusely. And I mean it. I feel guilty for that, because I want to treat good people good. And, you know, I won't ever hurt any innocent person. And I know you're like that too. And, you know, I know this show's a train wreck sometimes, so am I, but, you know, I'm doing the best job I can. And we're changing the world together. You know, it was at the start of the show that I showed you the New York Times saying Stephen Miller, who's really one of Trump's top advisors, where they want him out of there, is a Nazi. The ADL said he's a Jewish Nazi. And it's, you know, if it wasn't so serious, you'd laugh at that. And they say it's because he likes Infowars. They got somebody to get his emails. And it shows how they relaunched Breitbart, the presidency, and a lot of stuff off Infowars. The globalists were already spying on everybody. They already knew that. So when they say, stop Infowars, stop Trump, that's the case. And Trump was the Infowars president, and he's still light years better than Hillary. But let me tell you, he's drifting. You know, I mean, that red flag announcement, oh, yeah, let's pass some red flag laws. This is a get-ready process. Now, people flipped out, and Trump backed off of that. But, you know, we're in some deep water here. And I'm not going to mince words. So thank you all for your support. Matt Bracken's going to take over. He's about to tell you what he's got coming up. And please support our local affiliates. Please tell people about the local stations as well. Because if it wasn't for our local radio stations with all the deplatforming, we would be off the air right now. And the enemy knows that they try to harass the stations. The stations get leftist censorship and tell them to go to hell. And go ahead. We'll just put him on prime time. That's happened a lot. But you need to support them and spread the word about them. It's very important. And then tell people out of your area about the audio streams on local stations, because their URL of local radio stations won't get censored like an Infowars URL with the live streams, like Infowars.com/show. Send out that local radio station stream. And then that way their other shows get picked up, and so does mine. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Anybody that wants to restream our shows, free to air, just do it. TV, all of it. We got the satellite, everything. I mean, we're fighting hard here. I didn't sleep last night. Last cup of coffee I had was about 6 p.m. Didn't sleep one bit. And I was just real close to God last night. And that's always a good thing. But it also means incoming. Because God always takes me under the wing and cuddles me a little bit before I get put back in the bacon grease. But let me tell you, it's when I'm in that grease that I get even closer. Even closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. Even as they kill this body, and even as they kill you, they can't kill that spirit. And we're all going to meet our Maker one day, and I want to be there with you. And I can't do it myself. I have to give it to God, and I have to ask God to take me over, because God's about free will. The devil wants to take you over by stealth. By 5G and globalism and GMO and tainted vaccines and brainwashing and targeting the youth and all the lies and all the millions of channels and BS. But God wants you to say, hey, I want to be good. I want to know the truth. And I also want to stand up against evil. You know, if you really want to fight corruption, God's looking for soldiers. But you got to enlist, and you got to sign a piece of paper. You got to sign it metaphysically and say, I want to be with Jesus. Matt Bracken takes over. Stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us, even though the first string is gone and we're digging back onto the back of the bench. Matt Bracken with you for the rest of the hour, and I have a special guest today who used to work for the CIA, a career case officer, as opposed to an analyst, a cubicle rat at Langley. We're talking about the guys out in the field, both in embassies and under non-official cover. In fact, he was a chief of station. Now, the deep state has done such a great job of destroying the reputation of our intelligence services that a lot of you, as soon as you hear CIA, you probably are rolling your eyes and saying, well, here's a professional liar. Here's somebody we can't trust. But Bradley Johnson is what we would call a white hat. He is an anti-deep stater who believes in American national sovereignty. Imagine that. He's not a globalist like most of the people that are now, that have now infested every level of our federal government, including the FBI, the CIA, Department of Justice. As such, he's in a decided minority. He's on with me today, and we're going to be talking about the deep state coup, which is now in the Ukraine gate phase. Bradley, are you there today? Are you there?
Yes, I am, Matt. Good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks. I was watching pretty much all of today, either watching or listening, and they're getting closer to getting to the origins of this. It's like with Horowitz and Durham and the Russia collusion hoax. It's important that you just don't believe in the virgin birth theory. Like with the Russian collusion, the virgin birth theory is like the Big Bang. It all happened July 30th when Papadopoulos spoke to Downer. Nothing happened before that. So it's really important to peel this back and see what set this all up. And in the case of the Ukraine gate hoax, what set it up was Eric Ciaramella getting fired from the National Security Council and going right back to CIA. No demotion, not kicked out, nothing. He didn't get sent to the Department of Transportation. When he's fired for leaking against the administration, he goes right back to the CIA, which goes to your theory that, behind the scenes, Brennan and his cohorts are still really running the operation. But the guy on the National Security Council to this day, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, the one that Ukraine offered the job of defense minister, which makes you wonder what kind of inside great favors had he done for them to make them love him so much. That's very worrisome. So Vindman He heard the call. He leaks it to Ciaramella. During the whole impeachment inquiry this week, they're getting very close to naming him. They're firing shots around him without naming him. But Ciaramella, there's a story out today, he had a bromance with another guy on the National Security Council named Sean Misko. Guess where Sean Misko went just a couple months ago? He went to Adam Schiff's House Intel Committee. Imagine that. So you've got the bromance guys. Ciaramella, he's back at CIA. Misko, he's at Adam Schiff's staff. Vindman leaks to Ciaramella. Ciaramella hands the story to Misko, and Schiff and the IG report, the Intel Community IG report comes out, and we're here where we are. My question is, how long can this masquerade go on before the entire thing is outed? I mean, when are the TV networks going to tell us what everybody on the internet's known for weeks now about this entire connection? How long can this hold out?
Well, I think we're at the beginning of the end in this case. The FBI is opening an investigation of Eric Ciaramella. So as that comes forward, it's going to be a news story that they're just not simply going to be able to avoid in the left-wing mainstream media. So they're going to have to report it. And when that happens, certainly Congress is going to be all over it. They've been holding off on the Republican side, the ones that are actually trying to help President Trump, which appear to be in the minority, but those are still holding on to that information and haven't really jumped into the fray, mentioning Eric Ciaramella's name and background and all of that. But it will come out. It's not something that's going to stay hidden forever. So when it does come out, all of these connections that you're talking about are going to surface. And I think it's something actually worse. I'm beginning to suspect this very strongly, that there's a lot of information out there that Adam Schiff, for example, coordinated all this before any of it began, before the whistleblower started, whistleblowing. And so that means that there was full coordination taking place prior to the act. Now, if that's the case, and this all is shown to be based on nonsense, which I think is the case, you've got to really start to suspect sedition and acts like that by Adam Schiff and the others involved. And let me say, what Adam Schiff has been doing is saying that this entire thing, I mean, the basic conundrum comes down to this: is President Trump right to ask for an investigation into corruption, even if it includes Joe Biden? Now, what the Democrats and the left-wing press, the mainstream media, are saying is that this has all been debunked. But if you look at how this is debunked, that, for example, they're saying the excuse, and this came out in an article 4 days ago by the USA Today, that Hunter Biden being hired by this Burisma at the tune of over $3 million that he was paid is fine, because energy companies hire people like this to, clean up their name, well-known person and all this. But Hunter Biden, recovering drug addict, emotionally unstable guy with zero experience, he was not a common name before all this surfaced. So he was not someone that could have done that. So it's a false claim. It looks like USA is trying to, spread disinformation rather than inform and manipulate the information that's out there. And they made a comparison I found very interesting. They made a comparison to Cofer Black, who Cofer Black was the former chief of the counterterrorist center for the CIA. Now, that same Burisma hired him as a board member, and are also paying him, I don't know how much, but presumably a good amount of money. But energy companies are always targeted by terrorists. It's very common. And for an energy company to bring on a guy like that you just, is clearly an expert in terrorism, to work for them so that they would avoid problems with terrorists and terrorism in the future makes perfect sense. And they're comparing that to Hunter Biden, who's a drug addict and emotionally unstable kid with no experience. I mean, he's in his 40s, late 40s.
It's interesting that
it's crazy.
It's interesting that I find it interesting that Cofer Black is Mitt Romney's right-hand man, and he's somebody else that's up to his eyeballs in Ukraine. When we come back, we're going to be going to a break in 40 seconds, but I'd like to talk about what the head of the originator of Burisma has gone on the lam with millions of dollars. And I have a theory that although Vindman tipped off Ciaramella, it might not have been necessarily as a leak to start the impeachment inquiry. He might have been tipping off Ciaramella because Ciaramella, more like a warning, Ciaramella was on the plane with Biden at least once going to the Ukraine when they were setting up all of these dirty Burisma deals with Hunter. So Ciaramella and Hunter might have something that implicates Ciaramella. Okay, we're back. When we broke, we were talking about how the origins, the genesis of Russiagate 2.0, which is this Ukraine Gate, lame version, and how the four amigos, as I like to call them, since we already know about the three amigos, I've got my own four amigos. That's the National Security Council staffers that have since spread apart. Alexander Vindman, the lieutenant colonel, with the weight problem for an Army officer, certainly. Just got to make that observation. He's still at the National Security Council. He was actually on the phone. He tips off Eric Ciaramella, who's back at CIA with no punishment, who then takes it to his old friends that are now, amazingly, on the staff of Adam Schiff. And something that Vindman was talking about a couple days ago was, did you get on the airplane? Were you invited to go to Ukraine with Biden, or were you not on this group or in that group? And it's a prestige thing. It's like you're being invited to go to Miss America or something, on the Trump jet. Are you on the jet with the vice president or the secretary of state? That's your chance to spend 8 or 10 or 12 hours in close proximity having heart-to-hearts. If Vindman didn't get to go, but Ciaramella was on the airplane, they'd know it. These are the four amigos. If Ciaramella was on the airplane and Hunter was on the airplane, that's huge. Remember, when they went to China, the fact that Hunter was on the airplane came up over and over again. Did you talk to your father about the $1.5 billion you got out of China? Oh, no, we never talked about that. We're on the airplane for, 12 hours, but we never talked about what I'm going to do in China. It just never came up. So if Ciaramella was on the airplane and went to Ukraine with any of these delegations with Vice President Biden, remember, he was point man on Ukraine. He had the chop. He had the authority. That's going to be huge. And I find it interesting that the news story that's out that Ciaramella is being requested to be interviewed by the FBI, that story is out under the name of Michael Isikoff. Isikoff is one of the designated Stasi stooge fake reporters that leaks to the New York Times, Washington Post, or CNN. Others are David Ignatius, who you see on Morning Joe, also a novelist, interestingly, writes about, palace or embassy intrigue, political thrillers. And then you've got Devlin Barrett. I think he's New York Times. These are stooges. These are Stasi stooges. These are guys that pretend to be reporters, and they funnel stories from people like James Comey. So if it turns out that Vindman told Ciaramella, it might be, dude, you better cover your ass. It's coming down. The story, that when he hears this phone call, he might not just have been disturbed about the fact that, aid might be cut off from Ukraine. It's this investigation might uncover my friends, Ciaramella, and possibly his bromance buddy, Sean Misko. So this thing, and like Bradley was saying, this thing might have been set up long before. How is it that these two security, that Sean Misko and Abigail Grace wound up at Adam Schiff's Intel Committee? Was that a setup? How long has this trap been laid? Brad, what are you thinking about that? That's what you were talking about before the break.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I tend to be very suspicious of coincidence just by nature and also by training. And so I think it's that these people have split, and one of them is involved as the whistleblower. One of them is testifying against President Trump in these so-called hearings that Adam Schiff has put on, and then the other two are on Adam Schiff's staff working this. I think it's really kind of difficult to say and look at all of that and think that this is just pure coincidence. I think this is all something that was planned from the very beginning. And well, at least, I'm not saying going back to 2015 or something, but certainly 6 months ago, or probably when the Mueller report failed to do anything, they began to try to cook up Plan B. And I think this was then what resulting. They were looking, let's find a reason. And as soon as the Ukraine phone call took place, that gave them a peg to hang their hat on. And they had a justification to try and make a complaint against Trump and take him out with this Ukraine thing. So I think it was all certainly something that was well coordinated in advance of becoming public with this whistleblower complaint. And I think that ultimately is what's really going to bite him in the rear on this, because then you have what falls into the definition of a conspiracy. And if you're trying to unseat a legally elected president of the United States, then that's conspiracy for sedition, which that is actually, under the law, is an actual specific crime. And so this seems to fit all of those. And being a congressman, by the way, under those laws, I don't believe, not a lawyer, but I don't believe he has any protection for that sort of felony activity if indeed it works out that he was participating in something of that nature. So it could be a very, very serious problem for all of these people.
Yeah, I think another really big element of this network, one of the beauties of the Ukraine Gate thing, as I've said before, is that it's caused them to burn their network. It was working a lot better when this nest of seditious spies were completely submerged. But as like a Hail Mary last-ditch attempt, they're trying this Ukraine gambit to try to smear Trump with election interference, going after a political opponent, which is going to be one of the key things about the entire Horowitz and Durham investigations will be that the Democrats were going after Trump. The Democrats are now trying to inoculate themselves by saying, well, Trump was doing it to Biden too, but it's not going to work. And a really key factor is the fact that this guy, the Intel Community Inspector General Atkinson, he goes from being on the National Security Division of the FBI under John Carlin. This is like the same part of headquarters of FBI. With McCabe, Comey, Bill Priestap, and Strzok. He goes from there, wonder of wonders, another coincidence, he goes to become the Intelligence Community Inspector General. This is what's known in tradecraft as a backstop, or maybe there's other terms I'm not familiar with, but this is the perfect place where he can catch and deflect or protect or massage the facts. So this is how the whistleblower form goes from requiring firsthand testimony to permitting hearsay. Wow, another virgin birth. And then it's actually backdated. The form is backdated, but they can't fix all the metadata. They always get screwed up in the metadata. You can print on the form a date a few months back, but the metadata will always give you away in the investigation. So all of these connections, I think, are going to start coming out. And another place to look are these people's lawyers. When you find out that people that don't appear to be connected, like Fiona Hill, for some reason, they're also, very strongly cooperating with George Soros' Open Society foundations in Ukraine, very strongly. And their lawyers are the same lawyers back in Washington that are working for Fusion GPS. I wasn't surprised today she did know the name of Fusion GPS. I'll bet she did. So as this entire plot becomes out into the open, it's going to, I think, expose the entire network, and it's going to be crystal clear. Brad, we got like 40 seconds to wind up this segment, and then we'll be back again. What are you thinking?
I would say you've hit on the exact center of the problem from the Democratic perspective, and that as this unfolds, all of their machinations are going to surface. So they really don't have a defense, since it looks like they're just absolutely guilty. And so therefore, I think you've hit on exactly what is really kind of what's going on. They're hoping they'll get lucky against Trump, but they're trying to build a defense of, oh, you're only showing this evidence against us because you're guilty of the same thing. That's all they have. When you're guilty, what else do you have?
Yeah, nothing. Okay, we'll be back at the other side of the break and continue with this. You know, it's really important what Alex just said at the end of that spot. If you look at the big networks, they're not daring to say the name of the whistleblower, Eric Ciaramella, because they're run by their corporate lawyers and you know the front office guys that they're all so intertwined, interwoven with the deep state that they don't have the freedom to go off of the script. Even guys that would love to go off the script, they're just, the suits are keeping them in check. The fact that Infowars is self-supporting is what gives it the freedom, what gives me the freedom to say my mind here without any fear or any, you know, without any worries about the lawyers coming in or the FBI busting down my door. Well, actually, I do fear that kind of, but you know, what the hell? I never thought I'd get to be 60 anyway, so it's all good. But without your help, without your support, the thing goes away. It's not funded by Mark Zuckerberg or you know, Apple Computer or not. It's funded by you. That's it. So if you don't go to the Infowars store, then the program disappears. All right. What we're seeing now is the end stage of this entire deep state network. It's starting to fall apart. And as this happens, the desperation on the Democrat side is going to ramp up because people like John Brennan are not going to want to be in a cell like, you know, the one that Epstein was in. They are furiously, desperately trying to avoid that. There's too many of them that are rats and weasels that are already, I'm sure, giving up all of their friends in grand jury testimony. There's not a G. Gordon Liddy among the bunch that's going to, you know, go take 10 years and shut his mouth. It's just not going to happen. They're all ratting on each other right now. The fact that the story about the whistleblower is requested to be interviewed by the FBI. What's key about that is that Michael Isikoff put it out. That means it's an official inside FBI leak, and that means they're trying to give the liberals a heads up that this is coming, so it doesn't break on Sean Hannity or on Infowars. They want it to come from their side so that they can spin the story as it unfolds. This tells me we're right at the end, and my fear is, among many, Mr. Gloom here, but one of my fears is that as their desperation mounts up, the need for some kind of a massive diversion, something to just absolutely overturn the narrative that's going to be trending away from them as this Ukraine coup network is exposed, as the Horowitz report and then Durham indictments come out, they're going to be in a panic. And that's when they're going to pull some kind of a false flag, probably to take out one of the principals on their side, to blame it on Trump. It'll be Trump pulled the trigger. You know, Trump was doing the dog whistles to his crazy, you know, gun nut MAGA hat wearing fanatics. And so Trump might as well have pulled the trigger. That's the only thing at this point which can trump, so to speak, all of the avalanche of information that's going to be coming out against the coup plotters. So I would recommend that you read two of my old pieces. One more recent is called Adam Fish Has to Die. That's F-I-S-C-H. Just Google it. Adam Fish Has to Die. And another one is called Professor Raoul X. Professor Raoul X. But the reason I even mention these kind of things is to sort of head it off. If the perception is that nobody's going to buy a false flag, that it's not going to, you know, strike like a bolt from the blue and be a catalytic event that changes everything, then it's less likely that they're going to put something like that in motion. Now, Brad, let's go back. Any thoughts that you have? And then I also want to talk about the pardons that Trump granted to 3 American soldiers over the past week. But let's continue with the coup and then move into the pardons.
Yeah, okay. One of the things I think that you hit on there that's very important is the Democratic Party for a very long time has been basically calling on its believers to do acts of violence, and kind of at every level. I mean, even President Obama said that, at home over Thanksgiving, get in their face if they don't agree with this, that, or the other. And it's driven some of these people, now granted, they're the extreme ones within the Democratic left wing, but we've seen violence break out from these people on an individual basis. Certainly the shooting of the congressman playing baseball here in the D.C. area, and many, many other acts of that nature. It's almost always coming from left-wing people. Now, on the other topic of kind of what's been going on, today is ending the third day and final day, supposedly, of the testimony that the Democrats have put on show. And two things really struck me out of that. One of them was that Adam Schiff, in his opening monologue, which, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 minutes of talking, mostly nonsense, but one of the things he did repeat over and over and over was conspiracy theory. And he must have said this 15 or 20 times. And what he was referring to was what Ukraine had been involved with under the previous administration. And remember, the previous administration in Ukraine was very left-wing and philosophically in close agreement with the Obama administration. So we're now looking at to see what was their role, and did they interfere in any way, shape, or form with our elections here in the United States? Something that Democrats have said all along was one of their main issues that they wanted investigated, and now they're looking at it and saying, oh, well, no, that's conspiracy theory. Same goes for this thing with Hunter Biden making $3 million and, for no visible reason. And nobody has given any sort of justifiable motive for an energy company having paid Hunter Biden $3 million other than using his dad for some reason as vice president. The final thing that really struck me out of that was all of these State Department people that have come out and testified against President Trump. Now, they've been stuck each and every time because they are under oath. And when asked point blank by the Republicans, when they get a chance to get a word in, they've put it to him. Do you know of anything that the president did that's illegal? No. Do you know of anything that he did that, forcing Ukraine to do this, that, or the other? No. And so it's one of those things that these people then now, and also Adam Schiff said in his opening statement, we're not going to allow any sort of payback to these guys for testifying. But you've got this massive section out of the leadership having anything to do with Ukraine that come in and testify all the way down to the level of the political officer at the embassy in Ukraine coming in to testify against Trump, doing whatever they can do. Now, that's a good indicator of the problems that you have there. And there's a lot of talk now that Mike Pompeo has developed problems with the president of the United States over all of these issues. And I would say rightfully so. I mean, it's one of the things I question. And I was writing some op-eds that were published in the Washington Times well over a year ago, pointing this out, that when he took over the CIA as director of the CIA, he did nothing. He left everybody in place. All the John Brennan people were left in place, and they remain in the leadership roles at the CIA today. When he went to State Department, he did the same thing. All those same people that were the Obama leadership people remain in place, and that's why we're seeing this problem. Now,
it's easier.
I guess.
It's easier.
Yes, I think that's really it. And also Mike Pompeo has onward political aspirations. I think he would love to go run for Senate now. And if he can get that seat, then have that be his launching pad to run for president in 2024. I mean, speculative on my part, but he's politically ambitious. So that's what would make sense, in my opinion, for him to do. So based on his ambitions and all of that.
Yeah, and not only Pompeo, but there are a number of generals and admirals that I think see themselves as not only high cabinet officials, but I see the possibility of a brokered convention. You look at the debate last night, it's easy to imagine nobody getting near 50% at a convention, and some general or admiral riding in, to save the day, the man on the white horse. It would be perfect for them if you get a left-wing general or admiral, like the Admiral McRaven, who was a total lackey and toady for the Clintons. He would have unassailable defense credentials, handsome guy wearing a uniform. We see how they build up stooges like Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, but imagine an actual admiral or general. That would be the perfect Democrat to put up against Trump. Come into the convention at the last minute to save the Democrats. That's a real chance that I see. Last 20 seconds. take us out.
I agree. I think those wings are getting very crowded now with people out there. I would say Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, a number of generals and admirals are in those wings waiting to save the world.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating next year. All right, thanks, Brad, and we'll see you next time.